At Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, the New York Mets play the Los Angeles Dodgers. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. And by Nationwide. Speak with Jonathan Ginsburg in Oceanside or Steve Dukoff in Bayside today. Well, the Mets are out on the West Coast now, Southern California to be exact. In the shadow of the Hollywood sign, hard by the Santa Monica Pier, right near downtown LA, where the Dodgers have played since 1962 in Chavez Ravine. The standings in the National League West, 3 teams going great guns. There's never been a start like this for 3 teams in one division since divisional play began in 1969, and the Dodgers right in the thick of it. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Los Angeles. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a 4-game series against the Dodgers, the start of a 10-game road trip. The Dodgers playing wonderfully right now. They've gotten great pitching, and they've gotten some really surprising performances from young players, most notably Cody Bellinger, who has set the world on fire out here in L.A.
Well, Cody Bellinger wasn't even he was a non-roster player in spring training. The 21-year-old started the season in AAA, was called up in late April. He's tied for second with 19 home runs in the National League. Tied for second. He leads his team in RBIs with 43. He has taken the Dodger town here by storm.
And with Corey Seager and Justin Turner alongside him, gives the Dodgers a pretty potent middle of the order. But what leads the day for the Dodgers is the guy pitching tonight, the best left-hander on the planet, Clayton Kershaw. Last year in this ballpark against the Mets threw a 3-hit shutout and struck out 13.
Well, he's the best pitcher in baseball. He's right out of the Koufax mold. That herky-jerky motion, the big curveball. He is just all everything, and this Dodger pitching staff is #1 in the National League, and their bullpen holds up their end of the bargain too. They're #1 in the National League.
Kershaw has been top 5 in the Cy Young balloting 5 straight years, even last year when he missed nearly 2 months because of a back injury. The assignment against him tonight goes to Zach Wheeler, coming off the worst start of his major league career.
Well, he gave up those 8 earned runs, and the home runs against the Cubs only lasted an inning and 2/3. He's looking to bounce back. This is a very critical road trip for the Mets. They're all important now from here to the All-Star break. They need to get off to a good start tonight.
2 years ago, the Mets appeared to be left for dead when they came to L.A. They got it started on the West Coast, en route to a National League championship. They'll try and get it started tonight in L.A. All the action coming your way on SNY. Is brought to you by Delta. Mets fans win amazing prizes from Delta Airlines. Visit sny.tv/Delta Dugout for details. The Mets welcome back Dead & Company to Citi Field on Saturday, June 24th. Grateful Dead members, along with John Mayer, take the stage again as Dead & Company. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Dead & Company. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Some of the facts about the great Clayton Kershaw. Not only has won 3 Cy Young Awards, won an MVP in 2014. He's won a Gold Glove. He's been the Roberto Clemente Award winner. And he is off to another great start, leading the National League in ERA. And he's won 9 games coming into the night. Beautiful night in LA. Kershaw and the Dodgers against Wheeler and the Mets. First pitch is coming right up. The Mets have beaten Clayton Kershaw only once when it mattered the most in Game 5 of the National League Division Series 2 years ago. He's never lost to the Mets in the regular season. 7-0, 1.29 in 11 regular season starts. There's the Geico Mets starting lineup to face Kershaw today. TJ Rivera moves up to the 2-hole today. Gavin Cecchini gets his first major league start. He'll play second base. Michael Conforto had a couple of hits yesterday. Mets hope that gets him going. Jay Bruce has been the Mets' hottest hitter, and Cespedes, after sitting last night, back in the lineup today.
And there's the Toyota numbers for Clayton Kershaw. The Dodgers, in his 14 starts, are 12-2. There's your ace right there.
Michael Conforto leads things off. Mets going with the blue jerseys today. First pitch of the game from Kershaw is taken low, and we're underway. Conforto, then T.J. Rivera, and then Cespedes for the Mets in the opening inning. Kershaw's last start was in Cleveland Tuesday night. 7 strong innings, a 7-5 Dodger win. And he misses up and into Conforto 2-0. This year, Kershaw has walked 16 and struck out 105. Last year, he reached 100 strikeouts with only 5 walks, which was the first time that had ever happened. And he falls behind his leadoff hitter tonight, 3-0.
Tapping out around 93, 94 early in this first inning. Conforto sporting a beautiful .410 on base percentage.
It's 5th best in the National League. And Michael takes the first strike of the night, 3-1. Dodger pitchers are #1 in the National League with a 3.39 staff ERA. They've allowed the fewest hits, the fewest walks, and have the most strikeouts. Conforto lifts one to shallow left. Angling in is Chris Taylor, the left fielder, and that's the first out of the night.
And the Coors Light Dodger defense. Jock Peterson in center field. Kike Hernandez is kind of the unsung hero for this Dodger team. The right-hand hitter. Cody Bellinger, we talked about him in the open. What a start. Corey Seager, last year's Rookie of the Year. The veteran Grandal behind the plate. It's a pretty solid Dodger ball club, and there's a reason why they have 44 wins so far this season.
I mentioned Hernandez, who started at 7 different positions and made a game-saving catch in left field for the Dodgers yesterday in Cincinnati. Here's T.J. Rivera, moved up to the 2 slot after his 4-for-4 game yesterday, his second career 4-hit game.
Well, T.J. swings the bat, and he's got a chance. Line drive hitter. I like him in the 2-hole. He's not a guy that's going to walk, but he's going to put the ball in play.
And the first curveball by Kershaw ties Rivera in knots, and it's 0-2.
I can see, I've seen Kershaw pitch so many times. His motion, he's very like a rusty gate, very herky-jerky, hard to pick up.
Quickly ahead on Rivera, 0-2. And TJ takes the fastball low and away, 1-2. And that's something that Kershaw has been doing lately, dropping down. It's something he did when he first started pitching in high school. He was a sidearm pitcher and then learned how to pitch over the top. And now, later in his career, he's gone back to occasionally throwing sidearm.
So he's having a little difficult time right now zeroing in this first inning. And boy, when you get a pitcher of this caliber, I don't have to tell you folks back home, if he's in labor early, you've got to get him, because if he gets his rhythm, look out.
2-2 to TJ. He fouls off the slider.
It's almost a hesitation. Look at the motion here. Little, not big leg kick. And almost a stop. It almost seems like he stops, but he doesn't. Big stride, shoulder lift, over the top, hard to pick up.
And the curveball strikes out Rivera for the second out. I can't imagine how that hesitation misses with a hitter's timing, especially for a guy like Rivera, who had never faced Kershaw before.
Well, so many pitchers today, Gary, are cookie cutter. And you see the curve right here. This is almost a 12-6. I'll give it a 11 o'clock to 5 on the dial. Big breaker. But the cookie cutter pitchers that just are dart throwers, they're easy to get a rhythm with. But the guy with the herky-jerky motion, it forces that hitter to, because you can't pick the ball up. You got to wait a little bit longer when the ball goes out of his hand to identify the pitch.
So here's Cespedes, who's never had a hit against Kershaw, 0 for 9 in his career. Cespedes sat out yesterday after a 4-hit day on Saturday. He's 11 for 24 since returning from the disabled list, so he's given the Mets a nice lift. And Terry Collins said the plan is now for Cespedes to play all 4 games in this series, maybe get a day off over the weekend in San Francisco as they work him back to more steady duty.
Well, I agree, and I didn't have the game. He sat down yesterday, and I agree, a day game after a night game. Coming off the hamstring and the double injury, he heard it twice.
And there you go right there. The last 8 games he's been hitting pretty doggone good. I'll take that.
And that's pushing the envelope, presented by Pitney Bowes. You knew that.
I did.
You push the envelope quite regularly.
Whenever I can.
It's one of the things we love about you most. Up and into Cespedes, and for the second time in this inning, Kershaw's fallen behind 3-1.
One of my favorite ballparks. Such a beautiful setting.
3-1, and Cespedes bounces one down to Turner at third. And Justin throws him out, and Kershaw has a 1-2-3 opening inning. Zach Wheeler takes the mound to face the Dodgers when we come back. Great piece of real estate right next to downtown that Walter O'Malley acquired to move the Dodgers out here.
Just a phenomenal setting. Just as a player coming here for 17 years, it was something I always looked forward to. Just absolutely love this ballpark.
San Gabriel Mountains off in the distance. The park opened in 1962 and it still looks brand new. Zach Wheeler's first pitch to Chase Utley, a fastball for a strike. Utley's still going at age 38. Made his big league debut in 2003 for the Phillies. Now in his 3rd year with the Dodgers. And Wheeler finds the knees with the fastball and gets ahead 0-2.
Well, the Land Rover numbers for Zach, as you see right there, the ERA really got jacked up his last outing when he gave up those 8 earned runs in an inning and 2/3 against the Cubbies. The grand slam in the 2nd inning kind of did him in off the bat of Ian Happ.
After his 2nd pitch of the game was hit out of sight by Anthony Rizzo, which kind of put a damper on his evening to begin with. So Wheeler trying to start from scratch tonight. He had been going so well before that. His previous 7 starts, he pitched to a 2.41 ERA, and he hopes that that one start on Tuesday night was a blip on the radar. 1-2 to Utley. Corey Seager hitting 2nd in the order on deck. And Utley fouls it away. And there is the Hyundai starting lineup for the Dodgers. Seager, Turner, Bellinger, those guys have all been swinging the bat incredibly well. Chris Taylor has been a huge surprise. Former Mariners shortstop who's played all over the place for the Dodgers.
The Dodgers are won their last 9 out of 10 games, coming off a sweep in Cincinnati. In Cincinnati.
Yeah, they had the All-Ohio trip. They won 2 of 3 in Cleveland and then swept the Reds. And Seager, last year's Rookie of the Year, on deck.
And Joe DiMaggio's number. Just really good young players and left-hand hitters.
Wheeler's 2-2. And Utley drives one to deep left center. Back in the gap goes Conforto, and it lands and bounces over the wall for a ground rule double. Chase Utley resuming his hitting against the Mets, which he's been doing for a decade and a half.
Well, he's always hit the ball where it's pitched. There's a fastball belt high out over the plate. He got off to a terrible start, but he's really been on a tear of late.
So Utley with a leadoff double, his 7th double of the year. And now Corey Seager, who not only won the Rookie of the Year last year, finished 3rd in the MVP balloting behind Chris Bryant and Daniel Murphy.
He's got 9 home runs thus far this season. Hit 26 last year.
And he lines one into right for a base hit. Utley has to hold up. He'll go to 3rd and be held there as Bruce gets it in. And the Dodgers in business early, 1st and 3rd and nobody out.
Usually first ball hitting is first ball fastball hitting. This is the first pitch that Corey sees from Wheeler. It's a breaking ball, and he is on it. Utley has to, always a good base runner, except he's got to work on his sliding.
Well, he had a whole rule named after him. So now Justin Turner, the former Met, who is off to a fabulous start. He missed nearly a month with a hamstring injury, so he doesn't have enough at bats to qualify, but his .385 batting average would be tops in the major leagues if he did. Justin has completely remade his career since coming to LA. He spent 4 years with the Mets, hit 8 home runs in those 4 seasons. He had 27 last year. Right now, Justin riding a 13-game hitting streak.
Another one of those, I shouldn't say apostles, but maybe I should, of hitting the ball in the air.
Well, he was an early adopter. Learned at the hand of Marlon Byrd when the two were with the Mets together. It wasn't an approach that was favored by the Mets, and both were eventually sent packing. Justin was non-tendered, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen that he would have the success that he's enjoyed here. He's one of the best hitters in the league.
Well, he always was a heady player with the Mets, and he's just come into his own. 32 years of age, Gare.
It's a good fastball away from Wheeler to get ahead in the count 1-2.
Got to think that Justin's an LA boy, and he's happy to be playing in his hometown in Dodger blue.
Went to Cal State Fullerton, just down the road in Orange County. Is Dave Roberts, his 2nd year as Dodger skipper. Took him to the postseason last year. And they're in position again. Turner flares one into center for a base hit, and that'll bring home the game's first run. Utley's in to score. 3 straight Dodger hits. Turner with the RBI. And Wheeler in first inning trouble again. 1-0 LA.
Two-strike hitting. Fastball, wanted it in and didn't get it in enough. And look at him muscle it up the middle.
So Wheeler, after the rough outing against Chicago, finding trouble right from the beginning of this one, and now he'll have to face Cody Bellinger, who with 19 home runs in his first 50 big league games has gotten to that mark as fast as anybody ever has. Last year, Gary Sanchez with the Yankees got to 19 home runs in his first 50 games, and Bellinger has matched him. Before those two, the fastest anybody had, the most home runs anybody had in their first 50 games was 18, and that record had stood for more than 80 years. Wally Berger back in 1930 with the Boston Braves had 18 home runs in his first 50 games. But Bellinger has knocked off that mark as Sanchez did last year. And he drives one to deep right, and forget that. That's way back in the pavilion. Bellinger with his 20th home run of the year, and 4 batters in. The Dodgers have a 4-0 lead. 20 home runs in 51 Major League games. Never been done before. And Cody Bellinger has just done that.
Fastball, belt high, down Broadway. And he crushes it. He's 6'4", 213 pounds. At 21 years of age, he's yet to fill out into a real man's body, and he's already got the 20 bombs.
Chris Taylor. Well, for Zach Wheeler, the nightmare that ended in the second inning on Tuesday has resumed in the first inning tonight. This is about as bad a beginning as Zach could have possibly hoped for, trying to shake off the effects of that last start. And now Taylor muscles one into right field. 5 straight hits for the Dodgers to start this bottom of the first.
Well, a lot of hitters today. Look at no crouch, straight up and down, not an overstride, and that's just a power stroke. Boy, it's not that easy, young man.
Cody's dad, Clay, played in the big leagues. He was a utility infielder for a few years with the Yankees in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was never that kind of hitter, but his son Cody has very quickly made his mark in the major leagues at a very young age. This is about as daunting a task as the Mets could have possibly dreamt of, facing Clayton Kershaw and behind 4-0 before they can even blink.
Well, anytime you face another team's ace, you want your starting pitcher to match him in goose eggs, and it's not happening now. But you know what? There's a lot of game left, and there's plenty of time to come back. We'll see how it shakes.
There's Jock Peterson. Peterson off to a very slow start after hitting 25 home runs last year. He was out for a while with a concussion. Kershaw, who rarely sits down in that Dodger dugout, has never lost when the Dodgers score 4 runs for him, and they have 4 runs before an out is recorded tonight. And Wheeler gets the slider in for a strike. 0-1 to Peterson. Peterson now in his 3rd full year with the Dodgers, and they've all gone pretty much the same. Low average, lots of strikeouts, good number of walks, mid-20s in home runs. But a lot of inconsistency at the plate. And a fastball knee-high for a strike, 0-2. I mean, other than the fact that Wheeler is throwing the ball right in the middle of the plate, is there anything else that you can detect?
I don't see the pop on the fastball so far this early. Usually his ball's electric, and I can see it from center field. And they're taking their cuts.
Wheeler had been such a pleasant surprise in terms of his consistency early in the season, coming off 2 years on the sidelines. This is a Dodger team that's never seen him before. He's never faced the Dodgers. Only 2 guys in the lineup ever had at bats against him, Utley and Yasmani Grandal, who's now on deck. But they are taking swings against him like they know what's coming. And curveball misses, 1-2.
Well, the days of, I mean, there were 5 hard hit balls, a 3-run home run in the middle ball that you would move the hitter off the plate. And it's just not in today's game.
20th pitch of the inning upcoming. Zach's still looking for his first out. Taylor at first with 4 runs home. And Peterson goes around in the half swing, and Wheeler finally able to register an out.
Catcher number 9.
Well, he's gone to the breaking ball. Because they've been on the fastball, so try plan B. The Lexus Metsy defense. Conforto again. We're seeing that outfield configuration, I think, for quite some time now on the infield. How about Gavin Cecchini gets a start off the ace of the Dodgers at second base.
There goes Taylor. The throw by Darno is too late. And Taylor has a stolen base, his 8th of the year.
Well, he's not paying attention to the runner at all. Terrific jump. Not even a bazooka would have thrown out Taylor.
Well, Taylor has been such a pleasant surprise for the Dodgers. Former draft pick by the Mariners. They gave him the starting shortstop job a few years ago. He didn't hit at all. And he has played a big role for the Dodgers over the first 3 months of this season. Here's Yasmani Grandal, and he drives one out to left. Cespedes going back and reels it in front of the warning track for the second out. So Grandal is retired, 2 away.
A little gingerly moving up to his back to the wall here. Cespedes, but he had it all the way.
So 2 away now. Kike Hernandez playing right field tonight. Hernandez making his 35th start at 7 different positions for the Dodgers this year.
He's been with the Dodgers. He's found a home here. He has also got a serious amount of extra base hits, Gary. He's got 24 extra base hits.
24 of his 33 hits have been for extra bases, and he grounds one foul. He hit just 190 last year. He's done better this year. And he's got that, you know, that last name.
Well, not all of them can hit, you know. There was Enzo Hernandez, you know, he had a tough time with the stick.
Well, there was some pretty good pitching Hernandez's too.
Ramon,
Levon, Orlando,
Willie.
You ever have a reunion?
It's a very common name. Hernandez evidently is like, correct me if I'm wrong, not you, Gary, you folks out there, supposedly like Smith. It's a very common Spanish surname.
Right, but it didn't have to produce so many good ball players. I mean, there are a lot of Cohens in this world too, but not too many have succeeded on the diamond.
There's only one Cohen that I know. He's pretty doggone good.
1-1 Hernandez. And Wheeler dots the inside corner with the fastball, and it's 1-2. Clayton Kershaw on deck. Wheeler trying to put this inning to bed. Starting disastrously tonight. Utley doubled, Seager singled, Turner singled in a run. Bellinger hit a bomb of a 3-run homer. And now Taylor at second with 2 out. One-two coming. Tap slowly for Reyes. And he throws out Hernandez to end the inning. But the Dodgers do the damage. Bellinger's 3-run homer gives the Dodgers a 4-0 lead as Kershaw goes back to the mound for the second.
now.
7-7 in the ninth. Roark got knocked out in the third inning.
Roark's been getting his tits lit.
He really has. Stanton tied it with a home run. It's pretty quiet out on the West Coast beaches today. It was a very nice day to take in some sand and some surf.
That's a nice little sunset right there.
Of course, you know, with the microclimates here, it was about 80 downtown today, so it was probably about 70 at the beach.
I thought it was a little hotter downtown today. Beautiful afternoon. Can't say I'm crazy about the hotel we're staying at. We're in the middle of nowhere.
Should I call somebody about that? See if we can get you moved.
We're in the middle of nowhere, right in that convention center. I like downtown.
Clayton Kershaw staked to a 4-0 lead. Jay Bruce leads off the second and takes a strike on the inside. Jay took an 0 for yesterday, but his homestand was terrific. Hit .407 on the homestand against the Cubs and the Nationals. He's got 2 home runs in his career against Kershaw. They both came in the same game. And he takes curveball out of the strike zone, 1-1. That came in 2013. He hit those 2 home runs in a game in Cincinnati, and nobody has had a multiple home run game against Kershaw since. 4 years.
Oh, he dropped down a little bit there.
It was interesting because the first time he did it was against a right-hand hitter, but you expect him to do it more against the lefties.
And interesting, it's not really sidearm. It's in between sidearm and 3/4.
It's kind of what David Cohn used to do with his Laredo delivery.
By way of Detroit. Oh, big cook.
Down and looking. Bruce not happy with the call by Todd Tichenor.
He thought it curved around the plate.
Now, Terry Collins has known Clayton Kershaw since he was a raw rookie in the minor leagues.
He's got outstanding stuff, and plus he knows how to use it. You know, he is a student of the game of pitching. And when he first signed, he was so heads and shoulders above everybody else that even at 17 years old, you just knew that, you know, the stardom was waiting. And then you put around some of the best coaches that, you know, I certainly that we had hired at the time, pitching coaches, the Roger McDowells, the Sandy Koufaxes, and all he did was kept learning and learning and learning on how to pitch. And then he took that out and applied it on the mound, and he's become one of the best, if not the best, in the game.
That's tonight's quote of the game, presented by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. Terry was working in the Dodger farm system when Kershaw was drafted in 2006. Wilmer Flores hits a ground ball right at Corey Seager, and that's the second out. So Kershaw's retired the first 5.
Catcher number 18,
2 out and nobody on, and Travis d'Arnaud coming up.
There's certain ballparks. I know I've been kind of blowing my horn here about this stadium, but there's certain parks that you just love coming to, and this is one of them. This is definitely one of them, and it's a beautiful crowd here tonight. Kershaw on the mound. I used to love to play here in Dodger Stadium.
Now, Dodger Stadium has always had the reputation of being a great pitcher's ballpark. The slope of the mound, the way the ball doesn't carry very well, and yet you liked hitting here? I
liked hitting it. All the pitchers' parks made me concentrate more on hitting line drives, and I always hit well here at Dodger Stadium once I got established. And the Dodgers always had good pitching staffs, very good pitching staffs. But I think it's something about the environment when you come and your workplace and you love your workplace. I think it spreads into your performance.
Well, lifetime batting average in this ballpark, .318.
And 305 at bat, so 6 home. I hit my first home run here, folks, back in 1975 off left-hander Doug Rao.
Good pitcher.
Yes.
Kershaw, for the 3rd time in the first 6 batters, falls behind 3-1. Well, the Dodgers have won more than their share of Cy Youngs. Kershaw has been responsible for 3 of those. Sandy Koufax won 3. Of course, he won his when there was only 1 for all of Major League Baseball, rather than 1 for each league. A little extra on the edge of the strike zone for Kershaw that time, 3-2. Jay Bruce got called out on strikes, and you could almost read his thoughts when he argued about it with Todd Tichenor, as if to say, this guy doesn't need any help. And Darno strikes out on the slider, inning over. Third strikeout for Kershaw. He's gone perfectly through the first 2 innings. 4-0 LA. Take on the Phillies at 4:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive an Asdrubal Cabrera bobblehead, courtesy of Citi. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Cabrera should be back in the lineup for the Mets when they get to San Francisco on Friday. He's going to start a brief rehab assignment tomorrow night, coming back from the injured thumb. Clayton Kershaw takes a curveball off the plate, and it's 1-1. Kershaw 5 hits this year, lifetime 155 hitter. Wheeler back on the mound after a dreadful first inning. He gave up hits to the first 5 batters, and 4 of them scored. Jams Kershaw, and it's 1-2. So you put that together with the inning and 2/3 in the last start, and that's 12 earned runs in 2 2/3 innings. He did retire his final 3 batters in the first, and now facing Kershaw to start the second, and he stays alive. Chase Utley on deck, and then Corey Seager for the Dodgers in the second.
I remember back in Dodger heyday when they had Garvey and Lopes and Dave Russell and Ron Say on the infield. Those good Dodger teams.
Carved out to left field. Cespedes toward the line, and it drops in for a base hit and gets away from Cespedes. Kershaw thinks about second, but wisely goes back to first. Well, Cespedes slowed up on that ball, and he nearly played it into a double.
Well, I don't think he was going to get to it. This is a little blooper here, and he got fooled as the ball was, how the ball bounced. But unfortunately for Cespedes, it was a pitcher, and it wasn't stretched into a double.
Kershaw thought about it, came harder on first. But Cespedes threw it on the money to second, and Kershaw would have been out by 20 feet had he tried it. So that's 6 hits first time through the batting order against Wheeler. And now Utley, who got it all started with a ground rule double left center, comes up for the second time. With an extra day of rest since his last start, as the Mets continue with a 6-man rotation. They still do not know who that 6th man is going to be on Wednesday night. Probably comes down to Rafael Montero or Tyler Pill. But if this game keeps going the way it's going, they might need Montero to pitch in long relief tonight, in which case that would kind of make the decision for them.
So the old classic long reliever is finally coming back to the game.
3-0 now to Utley. Here are your city probables. Robert Gazelman, who's from here, grew up in Santa Monica, goes up against Brandon McCarthy, who's been really good this year, tomorrow night. And then that 6th starter against lefty Rich Hill Wednesday night. Steven Matz and Alex Wood in a matchup of lefties on Thursday night. There's a call, strike 3-1.
Well, here's the problem for Zach is that, Zach is a very hard thrower, and they've been on his fastball. His secondary pitch, his breaking stuff, has always been, he's erratic with his command. When he has to change gears, if they're on your fastball, then you go to your curveball and you can't get it over, then you're in a lot of trouble.
3-1 to Utley, and he lifts one to left. Easy for Cespedes. It's funny, Cespedes was moving so well on Saturday when he had that 4-hit game. He looks a little more tentative tonight.
He looks, yes, he does. The long flight cross country. Mets were supposed to land at 9 o'clock, but we were at JFK, and whenever we're at JFK, there's always a long line taking off, and we sat on that runway for around an hour and a half, hour 45. I don't think any of the players got to bed till probably after midnight.
Here's Corey Seager, who had a base hit on the first pitch he saw in the first inning.
Well, we're seeing more and more hitters choking up. And here's a youngster right here. Last year's Rookie of the Year. Look at that. That's a good inch choke up. I love it.
This is popped up in a shallow left. Another chance for Cespedes. 2 out. I was just thinking, you were talking about Cespedes on the long flight. If you had been kind enough to share your ice machine with him, maybe he would have, fared a little better. I mean,
that was for my knee.
That ice machine was going strong on that flight last night.
It saved me because, you always, folks, when you fly, your hands swell and your feet swell. Well, my doctor told me to keep that thing iced. And Ray Ramirez, the lovely trainer for the Mets, has provided the game-ready machine for me, and I kept that thing iced pretty much the whole flight, and I survived.
So you were game ready?
I was, yes.
He's game ready. Justin Turner takes ball 1. Turner had a base hit to center field to drive in the first Dodger run in that 4-run first inning. With that base hit, Turner's got his average up to 388.
Like Gary said in the open, he does not qualify yet, but he will eventually, if he stays healthy, will get enough at bats to qualify for a batting championship.
He's also got a 14-game hitting streak with that first inning single. That goes back to before his stint on the DL. And now Wheeler falls behind 3-0 for the second time in the last 3 batters. This is a Dodger team that's very patient. They've drawn the most walks of any team in the National League, and Wheeler's a guy who tends to fall behind on the count, and they're not going to help him out.
They're also, as a team, 3rd in on-base percentage in the National League.
Turner swinging 3-0, and he clubs one to deep left, and that is gone. 2-run homer for Justin Turner, his 4th of the year. And the hammer comes down on Zach Wheeler again. It's 6-0 LA.
Yeah.
Justin Turner doing some major damage against his old team in the first 2 innings of this game.
3-0 hit sign from his skipper, Dave Roberts. With Cody Bellinger in the on-deck circle, I thought perhaps he would give him a take sign, but Turner's red hot. Swing the bat.
And swing it he did, as did Cody Bellinger his first time up. He had one way back in the pavilion in right field for a 3-run shot. So Wheeler's given up 2 home runs in the first 2 innings, as he did in his last start against the Cubs. Then it was Rizzo and Happ. Here it's Bellinger and Turner. And there is Rafael Montero.
And he's going to have to be the innings cruncher here. I got to believe that, you know, Wheeler's the 3rd hitter here. Could be pinch hit for. Down 6 runs.
Ten home runs allowed now for Wheeler this year. And not coming close with that curveball. It's 3-1. And so Bellinger finds himself in an advantageous count after homering his first time up tonight, his 20th home run of the year. Bounces one down to first. A foul ball came off his foot. And it's 3-2. Fourth-round draft pick out of high school, Bellinger. But he quickly shot his way to the top of the prospect charts for the Dodgers. And he hits this one deep to right center. Conforto back near the wall, and that's gone. An absolute barrage from the Dodgers. Second home run of the night for Bellinger, who just last week had back-to-back 2 home run games, becoming the youngest player ever to do that. He's got another 2 home run game, his 21st, and it's 7-0 LA.
Breaking ball. Hanging over the middle. Goodness gracious.
Well, in a difficult season, Zach Wheeler had been the feel-good story of the Mets' first 3 months. But these last 2 starts have been a cautionary note for a pitcher coming back from 2 years on the sidelines following Tommy John surgery. Not just getting hit, but getting absolutely clubbed.
This has to get Wheeler's ERA well over 5. My gosh.
Well, I think more importantly, I think it certainly raises a red flag whether there's something more than just bad results going on with Wheeler. I mean, this is a guy who has electric stuff, and he has just gotten tattooed over these last 2 starts in less than 4 innings of work. He's given up 15 runs. Strikes out Taylor, and that puts an end to the inning. But back-to-back homers for Justin Turner and Cody Bellinger. 3 home runs in the first 2 innings against Zach Wheeler. 2 of them for the rookie Bellinger. And a 7-0 Dodger lead after 2. For the third, he's got a 7-0 lead. Jose Reyes leads off for New York and drives the first pitch to deep left field, back toward the wall and out of here. Jose Reyes with his 5th home run of the year, a line drive into the left field bullpen. The Mets' first base runner of the night, and Reyes circles him to cut the Dodger lead to 7-1. So the home runs are flying out of Dodger Stadium tonight.
First pitch fastball, wanted it in, left it out over the plate. Jose covers it, jumps on that fastball.
Now Gavin Cecchini getting his first major league start, pulls one foul.
Jose always felt a better right-handed hitter, better swing.
And Cecchini takes a curveball for a strike. This is Clayton Kershaw's 12th regular season start against the Mets. That's only the 3rd home run the Mets have hit against him in those 12 starts. And you'll never believe who the first one was. Strike 3 called, so Cecchini is out on strike. And that's the 4th strikeout for Kershaw. And now Matt Reynolds will bat for Zach Wheeler. So Wheeler's night is done after 2 rocky innings. Anyway, the first home run a Met ever hit against Kershaw in 2008, Luis Castillo.
Really?
And then nobody else hit one against Kershaw in the regular season until Asdrubal Cabrera did it last year. And now Reyes becomes the 3rd. Of course, Kershaw did give up 2 home runs in the postseason against the Mets, both to Daniel Murphy. So here's Reynolds, and he takes a strike. Tonight's Spectrum high-speed pitch. Kershaw gets the full pinball treatment. And the curveball misses. A ball and a strike to Reynolds. So what to make of Zach Wheeler? An inning and 2/3, 8 runs against the Cubs, 2 innings, 7 runs against the Dodgers. Bounce to the right side, under the glove of Bellinger and into right field. And Reynolds is aboard. Looked like a play Bellinger was going to make, but it skipped right underneath the leather.
Well, I like the fact he goes after this ball aggressively. It's the in-between hop, and he just missed it. But I like the fact that he went after this ball, showed some nice range.
So it's a base hit for Reynolds. Let's have 2 hits in the inning against Kershaw. And now Michael Conforto, who flied out to open the game. Well, those are the last 4 seasons for Clayton Kershaw.
Not too shabby.
He led the majors in ERA 4 straight seasons. Nobody had ever done that before.
A little drop down again.
It's fascinating to watch the way teams play Conforto defensively, particularly with a left-hand pitcher on the mound. You'd think that they would not put on the full shift, and yet the Dodgers do exactly that. Curveball bends in for a strike, 1 and 2.
I find more and more defenses when they play the shift. They leave like a shift on Conforto here. Look at the left fielder on the top of your screen to the left. They want to anchor him over there to cover the ball down the line. But to me, a ball down the line is a double anyway. You're leaving that gap wide open in left center field.
Not too many teams run on Kershaw. He's very slow to the plate, but he's got a very good pickoff move. And that serves to keep runners close. He's only given up 1 stolen base this year in 2 tries. And Conforto able to get a piece of the slider and stay alive. So the Nationals had a 6-0 lead in Miami tonight. Then Tanner Roark gave up 6 runs in the third, got knocked out.
He's been getting hammered lately.
Stanton hit a home run in the 7th to tie it. Marcell Ozuna an RBI single in the bottom of the 9th to win it 8-7 for Miami. Curveball up and into Conforto, 2-2. Whereas the Nats, who have all those bullpen problems, nonetheless have a substantial cushion to work with.
Well, look at those under 500 teams. All 4 of them. Only 5 teams over 500 in the National League. That is
pulled on the ground. Turner playing on the right side to Seager and on to first. That's a 5-6-3 double play to end the inning. So the shift worked perfectly for Kershaw and the Dodgers against Conforto. 7-1 in the third. Tonight because he's needed in long relief tonight.
Oh, these are the games right now where you need that long reliever of old. And Montero fits the mold. It's usually always was your swing starter for our double headers and a guy that can come in and eat those middle innings in games like this. He's coming off his only relief appearance, 3 innings, perfect ball.
So as Montero gets set to face the Dodgers in the third, let's go inside baseball with Steve Gelbs. This report tonight is brought to you by Volkswagen. Steve?
Well, Gary, the top 3 teams in the NL West, they just keep winning, but no team has ever won a game the way the Colorado Rockies did yesterday. Nolan Arenado, a walk-off home run that completed the cycle. It was the first time in the history of baseball that a team was trailing, had someone hit a walk-off home run to complete a cycle, but it just is another win for, again, like I said, a team in this NL West race that keeps winning. All 3 teams at the top, the Rockies, the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks, of course, are all within 1 game of each other, and at this point in the season have winning percentages above 620, the first time that's ever happened in the divisional era, and it just speaks to just how important it is now for the Mets to try and find a way back into this thing with all 3 of those teams playing as well as they are.
Well, what it means is that they're further behind in the wild card race than they are in the division race, because you've got those 3 teams so dominant at the top of the NL West. Montero gets a first pitch out from Peterson on a grounder, and now a ball and a strike to Yasmani Grandal. One of the things that we noticed about Montero in his outing against the Nationals last Thursday, he was using his changeup more, which is something that he had been reluctant to do in a lot of his
prior big league outings. It was the fastball to get ahead on Grandal 1-2.
Well, when he first came up, what was so frustrating was the fact, Gary, that he threw his changeup too much, and then became a fastball pitcher. His problem is not getting ahead of hitters.
Well, there's the changeup to strike out Grandal for the second out. And he's got a good changeup, and if he's able to throw on the corners the way he seems to always do in the minor leagues, then that changeup can be an out pitch.
Well, he's got a great off-speed pitch, and an off-speed pitch has to be set up with a fastball. His problem, Gary, is he's been falling behind, 3-2 counts. You got to go after hitters. 0-2 puts the pitcher in command.
So after 3 perfect innings Thursday night, he retires his first 2 tonight. Now Kike Hernandez, who grounded out to short his first time up. And a slider off the plate for ball 1. So Wheeler goes 2 innings, allows 7 runs, 8 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, 3 home runs. Last 2 starts combined, 3 2/3 innings, 15 earned runs, and 5 home runs against Zach Wheeler. It really undoes a lot of that incredible good that had been done over that 7-start span when Wheeler was really the Mets' most consistent starting pitcher. And now the question is, where does he go from here? His ERA with this outing tonight up to 5.29 for the season. Mets are already without Noah Syndergaard and Matt Harvey in their rotation. There's a strike to Hernandez, 2-1. Happy birthday to Jacob deGrom, 29 years of age today, and celebrates with the National League Player of the Week honor, and well deserved off those 2 starts against the Cubs and the Nats, and his home run, first big league home run, using David Wright's bat.
That's what I heard. Yes.
And he said he was using David Wright's bat, and he said this sort of tongue-in-cheek because it was a good bunting bat. Now, he did also have a sacrifice in the game yesterday, not just a home run. So perhaps he wasn't being facetious. Charging is Cecchini, and he throws out Hernandez. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Rafael Montero. That sends us off to the 4th with the Dodgers up 7-1. In the minor leagues as a draftee. Well, this is what he looked like in high school. The Gatorade National Player of the Year down in Highland Park, Texas, suburb of Dallas. It's like a little different motion back in those days.
Not as herky-jerky, no shoulder lift.
He still had that hesitation, though, with that front leg.
It's there. it's more accentuated now.
Not only did he play baseball in high school, he also played football, where he was the center for Matthew Stafford.
Really?
It was his high school football teammate.
That's interesting.
Quickly 0-2 to T.J. Rivera, who struck out his first time up. Well, Kershaw, with his 3 innings pitched tonight, is at exactly 100 innings for the season. And we are still well short of the halfway point of the season.
Very interesting here. Second time through the order. He struck out Rivera the first time on predominant breaking balls. This time around, 3 straight fastballs. Very interesting. Changed it.
And the curveball down. Do you think that has anything to do with the score of the game, that he would throw more fastballs at this point?
Well, I don't believe so. He might be inclined. I mean, if he's got a great command of his curveball, then he's not going to discard it because he's got a 6-run lead. It's a lot of game left. Gary, you've seen enough games. You've seen 6-run leads go south.
Not against this guy. He strikes out Rivera. If that happened, we'd have a headline on our hands.
Yeah, we would.
We showed that stat earlier. He's never lost when the Dodgers have scored 4 runs for him.
This is a cutter. And up in the strike zone.
That's the thing. He's known for his curveball, but he actually throws his slider a lot more than he throws his curveball.
Right. That was more of a cutter. It wasn't a great pitch.
He's got 5 strikeouts tonight. Recently reached 2,000 strikeouts for his career. He and Scherzer both reached that milestone this year. The 3rd and 4th fastest ever to reach 2,000 strikeouts, behind only Pedro Martinez and Randy Johnson. First pitch curveball, and Cespedes hammers one to shortstop, and Seager makes the play. 2 out. Well, over the last 6 years, only Scherzer has more strikeouts than Kershaw.
Well, he's got now, with the 5 strikeouts thus far, 2,028 career strikeouts. Another a little less than 1,000 for 3.
Jay Bruce goes after the first pitch slider. The only thing that has really eluded Clayton Kershaw in his career has been trying to figure out how to throw a changeup. He's worked with several different grips over the years. Every once in a while he'll try one, but really he's got the 2 breaking balls, the curveball and the slider, but never has developed a changeup that he believes in.
Well, I don't think he needs it.
But that makes him pretty rare these days. You know, almost every pitcher has themselves.
Yes, it's the pitch du jour, but he is the quintessential power pitcher.
He drops down, and Bruce hits one deep to center field. Peterson back to the track, back at the wall. It's out of here. Jay Bruce with a home run, his 19th of the year. And the Mets' 2nd home run tonight against Kershaw. On 0-2 pitch, Kershaw drops down, and Bruce beats him. 19 home runs, 48 RBIs for Jay, and it's now 7-2 LA.
Boy, what a season Jay is having. This is a 2-strike count. He stayed in on that fastball. And if I was pitching against Jay and a left-hand pitcher of quality, I would keep the ball away from Jay. Jay likes to pull, but every now and again.
So his 3rd career home run against Kershaw, and for the Mets, who had hit only 2 career regular season homers against Kershaw ever, they have 2 tonight. He was stunned. That was not a pitch that he was expecting to leave the ballpark.
Well, what I'm seeing when he drops down, Gary, I don't really like it that much. Why? It's straight as a string. Usually when you drop down, it's going to run into left-hand hitters, and it's going to sink to right-hand hitters. But it's straight as a string.
Flores bangs one off his foot, and that hurt. Why would you think that a pitcher of Kershaw's pedigree at this point in his career would tinker with something like that?
I agree. Maybe getting a little bit too cute. I don't know. It's you're trying to upset the rhythm of the hitter by giving a different point of release to him, trying to fool the hitter. You're used to facing Kershaw picking the ball up out of his hand. He's over the top, so you're focused above his head, and all of a sudden he's down here at instead of at 12 noon, he's at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. That can disrupt you, but it didn't Bruce.
Nope. 1-2 to Flores, and the curveball hammered foul. So only one player has more than 3 home runs against Kershaw, and that was Adam Dunn, who had 4. Bruce joins a group at 3. Buster Posey, Troy Tulowitzki, Chris DeNorfia, who is a specialist against lefties, and Bruce, each with 3 home runs against Kershaw. It's a select club. 1-2 to Flores, and he takes slider down low, 2-2.
By the way, the numbers for Kershaw, 9-2 coming into the game, 2.23. He's given up the 2 home runs now. He's given up 15 home runs this year.
But you know what? Everybody's giving up home runs.
Hey, Catfish Hunter, Ferguson Jenkins, they always gave up home runs, but they were solo shots.
Wilmer pops one up. Seager retreating, calling all the way, and that retires the side. That's with their 2nd home run against Kershaw tonight. But the lefty still with a 5-run lead at sunset. 7-2 Dodgers.
Nice.
Dodger Stadium honoring Negro League baseball, and on hand to celebrate Don Newcomb and Maury Wills and Frank Robinson.
You see the size of Newcomb's hands and how long his fingers were? There's Don.
Don is now 91 years old. Pride of Thomas Jefferson High School in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Wonderful man.
Won the first ever Cy Young Award in 1956. Was also the National League MVP that year. Won 27 games with the 56 Dodgers. As part of the World Championship Dodgers in 55.
Good change.
So Montero looking like a different pitcher since his latest recall.
I like him in this role here. He's a low leverage situation. You can relax. Maybe get his rhythm and his confidence.
And he strikes out Kershaw with the slider. Darno makes the toss to complete the putout. Second strikeout for Montero. for tonight's Verizon trivia question. Jackie Robinson was the first African-American inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Who was the second? It's a great question.
Gosh, there's got to be.
Was it Don Newcomb?
Was it Campanella? Was it Larry Doby? I don't think it was Larry Doby.
No, Newcomb is not a Hall of Fame.
Campanella?
Could be. Can't be.
Monty Irvin? No. Later.
Here's Chase Utley, who's 1 for 2, doubled and flied out. And he takes a strike from Montero. So Montero has now faced 13 batters since returning from the minor leagues and retired them all. Slider in for a strike to Utley, and it's 0-2. And Utley, it's a slow tapper. Montero off the mound. And there are 2 out.
He had ideas of taking the bag himself and wisely decided not to. He wasn't going to beat Utley there.
Could have taken it right to the line and tagged out Utley. Either way, it works. So 5 up and 5 down now for Montero. And here's Corey Seager. Seager has singled and flied out, 1 for 2. And he lines one into center field, and there's the first hit against Montero. So Seager has his second hit of the night.
He's got a long swing. No, not that long. He just got a big follow through. Power follow through.
The younger of the Seager brothers. Mets will see his brother Kyle later this year in Seattle. Kyle started to heat up. Had 3 hits and 3 RBIs for the Mariners yesterday in their win over Texas. Here's Turner, who's already had a big night. Just an RBI single in the first and a 2-run homer in the second to help ruin Zach Wheeler's night. And slider off the plate for ball 1. You know, it's easy to forget how highly touted Rafael Montero was when he came up with the Mets 3 years ago. Remember that it was he who was supposed to fill a spot in the Mets rotation when he and Jacob deGrom were called up at the same time. deGrom was supposed to go to the bullpen. And Rafael had a pretty good first start against the Yankees, but he was not able to sustain it. And, you know, maybe it has taken him to this point at age 26, still relatively young, to be ready to pitch at this level.
Well, 26. He's been up and down enough. It's just a matter of getting out there and doing it. You know, you're no longer the 22-year-old, the 23-year-old. 26, you better get it in gear.
Yeah, at a certain point, you run out of chances.
Exactly.
Sometimes desperation, if I can put it in that term, is the best motivator.
Well, you get your back to the wall. There's nowhere to run. So you bite the bullet. Come out swinging.
The proverbial bullet, I hope.
Yes, exactly. Not literal.
Because those real things, they hurt your teeth.
They can go off too.
Well,
you don't want that.
Yeah. 1-2, and Turner just got a piece of that.
Beautiful night.
Cody Bellinger has already homered twice tonight. Would be next.
I love the organ so much better.
And that one crowds Turner. 2-2. Well, the in-game entertainment here at Dodger Stadium has become a weird hybrid.
It sure has.
Because they have pregame ceremonies and festivities here that are as loud as any in-stadium decibel level you find anywhere in baseball.
Chase me out of the booth.
But they still have organ sounds.
Right. Wasn't didn't the Dodgers originate the da-da-da-da-da charge? I think they did.
The Dodger Symphony back in Brooklyn.
Exactly. Kind of a stammer step on that back foot of Turner as he gets set. Usually it's kind of unusual.
It's kind of like the way Robert Gazelman taps the rubber before he throws a pitch. Probably just settling down.
It's almost like nervous jitters, but it's not. He's hitting 380.
And he's on base for the 3rd time tonight. As Montero issues his first walk, and now Cody Bellinger, already 2 home runs deep in this game, will get a shot at the 3rd in the 4th inning. We mentioned it earlier. Last week, Bellinger had back-to-back multiple home run games, and at age 21 became the youngest player in Major League history ever to have back-to-back multiple home run games, and he's got another one tonight. 21 home runs in his first 190 Major League at bats. Incredible. And Montero crowds him, ball 1.
I think you're going to have to crowd this kid up and in.
He's already tied Mike Piazza's 1993 Dodger rookie mark with 5 multiple home run games this year, and it's only the middle of June. Seager at second, Turner at first with 2 out. And Bellinger goes after the changeup, 1-1.
Oh, he takes a big power cut. This is
now the Dodgers had Jock Peterson come to the big leagues a couple of years ago with this kind of all or nothing swing, but everybody says Bellinger's a better hitter and has fewer holes than Peterson.
He looks that way to me.
I mean, Peterson hit a lot of home runs early in his career. Got off to a great start in his first full season, but then pitchers figured him out.
Well, Peterson had a very, very long swing and does not handle left-handers because of that long swing. He's got Bellinger's got more of a more compact swing, but he is letting it rip. Let's see how he hits with 2 strikes.
1-2 coming. Fouls it away. Well, with the 2 home runs tonight, Cody Bellinger has taken over the National League home run lead. That means that both leagues are now led in home runs by rookies. Aaron Judge leads the American League in home runs. Bellinger leads the National League.
Jay Bruce has got 19 now, so he's in the top of the heap. Not top of the heap, but in the heap.
But think about how unlikely that is, that rookies lead both leagues in home runs.
Amazing.
I mean, Judge also leads the American League in batting average and RBIs. He is a Triple Crown winner at the moment on June 19th. Yasiel Puig getting a little instruction from Dave Roberts, his manager. Puig sitting tonight. He's been hitting 8th and 9th in the order lately for the Dodgers. And Bellinger strikes out on the slider to end the inning. So the Mets finally figure out a way to get Bellinger out. 3rd strikeout for Montero as he strands a couple in the 4th. Still 7-2 LA. better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Clayton Kershaw has given up a couple of solo home runs tonight, but the Dodgers scored 7 runs in the first 2 innings against Zach Wheeler, and so Kershaw well fortified as he takes the mound for the 5th to face Southern California native Travis d'Arnaud. And Travis bounces one up the third baseline foul. 0-1. Well, when he first came up, Joe Torre kind of hung the kiss of death, as it were, on Clayton Kershaw by comparing him to Sandy Koufax. Well, it seems that Joe wasn't all that far off. Other than the complete games, their numbers match up extraordinarily well over their the heyday of Koufax's career, that last 5 years that made him a Hall of Famer, and what Kershaw has done. I mean, you wouldn't think that anybody could match what Sandy did. He was the most extraordinary left-hander of all time if you just consider that 5-6 year period at the end of his career. But here Kershaw, you know, other than the complete games, which is a function of the era that he pitches in, has pretty much matched him stat for stat.
Can you imagine if Sandy had played further on, what he would have accomplished? He had that severe rheumatoid arthritis that curtailed his career.
Well, maybe if he hadn't thrown 300 innings a year, he might have pitched longer than he did. We'll never know.
Yep.
But it was a different game then. Pitchers were expected to throw 9 innings at a time.
Absolutely. There were pitchers that threw 250 plus innings. A lot of them.
Outside to d'Arnaud, 2-2. Jose Reyes is on deck, and then Gavin Cecchini for the Mets against Kershaw in the 5th. The curveball sits high, and Kershaw runs a full count to d'Arnaud. Kershaw has not walked anybody tonight. He struck out 5, giving up 2 runs and 3 hits. Trying to go 8-0 lifetime in the regular season against the Mets. d'Arnaud fouls off the slider. Seventh pitch of the at bat to Travis. And he fouls off another one. So if nothing else, making Kershaw work a little harder. Again, the 3-2, and he walked him. So a good job by d'Arnaud to coax a leadoff walk, the first of the night for Kershaw, and just his 17th walk in 101 innings this year. So now Reyes, who jumped the first pitch he saw from Kershaw, and line went into the bullpen in left field.
And that first pitch was a fastball inner half. So we'll see how Clayton attacks Jose this at bat.
You know what the result of that Reyes home run was, Keith? Jose came into the night with 468 RBIs as a Met, tied for 9th place with
me.
You. Now he's ahead of you by 1.
Oh well.
You have been relegated to 10th.
I'm in the top 10. I didn't play long enough in a Met uniform. Very few have. In the history of the organization, really, it started with David Wright and Jose. That really, I mean, they didn't have. Kranepool was one that played for forever, and Kranepool has all the records.
He did. David Wright surpassed him.
But Ed Kranepool will always tell you, you'll always hold the records for Shea Stadium.
Yes, yes he does, and he always will. That's pulled down to third, just foul. Reyes is going to run down Crane Pool for second on the all-time Met hit list soon.
This is 2 pitches ago. There's the curveball grip. Look at the ball tumbling.
Well, the amazing thing about Kershaw's curveball, it appears to go up out of his hand.
It does.
It comes down.
And that's an optical illusion. Trust me.
And he strikes out Reyes on the slider. 6 strikeouts for Kershaw, 1 down in the inning.
So what was most curious about that at bat? With Reyes' first pitch fastball home run, his first at bat middle in. He let him off with a fastball outside corner knee high, Gary, and then went to the breaking ball to get Jose out.
So now it's Gavin Cecchini. Gavin got in 4 games with the Mets late last season. Never started a game. This is the first game he started in the big leagues. Took a call third strike his first time up. Been a puzzling year for Gavin. He had 325 in Vegas last year. He was hitting just 249 this year when he was called up. Always been considered more of an offensive than a defensive player. His first round draft pick in 2012 out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Drafted as a shortstop and played shortstop most of his minor league career, but now focusing mostly on playing second base, with Ahmed Rosario getting most of the reps at shortstop in AAA.
Slightly open stance, front foot on his toes. Another toe tapper. To each his own. There's no right way. I am not a fan of the toe tapping. David Wright is a toe tapper, and David Wright's had himself, prior to injury, quite a career. So whatever works.
So when you say you're not a proponent, you mean for yourself, not
right. I mean, to me, on your toes like that would make me tight, a little bit too tight. Got to be relaxed up there.
Lunging for that curveball. He just got a piece of it.
It's a tough little start for Mr. Cecchini here, facing the best pitcher in baseball.
Reminds me of when Butch Husky made his major league debut in Houston, the day that Darryl Kyle threw a no-hitter against the Mets. Butch struck out all 3 of his at-bats and asked in the clubhouse, are they all like that?
That's hit in the air to deep left field. Back toward the corner, Taylor, and it's out of here. Gavin Cecchini with his first major league home run. A 2-run shot off Clayton Kershaw. And the Mets have gotten back in this game with 3 home runs off Kershaw. It's now 7-4. How about that?
That's one he'll remember.
Well, we mentioned earlier the Mets had only hit 2 regular season home runs against Kershaw across 11 starts. They've hit 3 tonight, and the first of the career of Gavin Cecchini.
Got himself a hanging breaking ball.
Now Montero stays in the bat.
There it is, hanging up. And he's on it.
Well, only twice before this season had Clayton Kershaw ever allowed 3 home runs in a game. But he's now allowed 3 home runs in a game 3 times this season. Reyes, Bruce, and Cecchini go deep for the Mets. Now Montero pops one up behind first base. Bellinger into foul ground. And that's the second out. So a game that appeared lost at the start for the Mets. 7 runs in the first 2 innings off Zach Wheeler, all of a sudden has become a ball game. In unlikely fashion, you'd have to say. Cecchini had 2 home runs in the minors this year, actually 3, 8 home runs last year, and now his first in the majors.
Now is the 4th start for Kershaw, where he's given up 4 runs. That's the most he's given up in all 15 of his games started, so he's only done it 4 times now.
Well, that was a stunner. Cicchini, who had looked so bad in his first 2 big league at bats this season, one the other day and one today. He was behind in the count 1-2, and he got a hold of one and cleared the left field wall, got it into the bullpen.
Well, he got himself a hanging curveball, and he jumped all over it.
Conforto's 0 for 2, flied out, grounded into a double play, and he takes a slider for a strike, 1-2. So third time around the batting order now for Kershaw. He's up over 80 pitches working in the 5th inning. He's only given up 4 hits tonight, but 3 have left the ballpark. And a curveball bounced foul by Conforto. So if nothing else, all of these long balls have made it more likely that Dave Roberts, who goes to his bullpen more than any other manager,
Yes.
will have to do that sooner than later. 1-2 coming, and Conforto gets tied in a knot, but he held the swing in time. Angel Hernandez, the umpire down at third, said he did not swing, and it's 2-2.
I don't believe he did. Angel got it right.
2-2 coming, and Conforto fouls back the slider.
Boy, there's a hanger right there too, up in the strike zone.
Again, the 2-2, and Conforto hits one down the left field line to foul. It's inside, ball 3. So quite an at-bat working here for Conforto. (3-2), and he struck him out with the slider. Kershaw wins the battle, his 7th home run, 7th strikeout of the night. But the home run by Gavin Cicchini, first of his career, gets the Mets closer. A 1-2 curveball, and Cicchini got it. First big league home run. Halfway through, 7-4 LA. Third inning of relief for Rafael Montero as he faces Chris Taylor. Mets now have made a game of this. They were down 7-0. But 3 home runs against Clayton Kershaw have gotten them back in it. Montero trying to keep it right where it is. Taylor's 1 for 2 today, singled and struck out. And he takes a slider inside 2-0.
Well, it's a little dicier now. The team Mets have clawed back to within 3. And Montero is going to get himself, if he can continue to pitch well, get himself around 5 innings of work.
Taylor takes a big hack and misses the fastball 2-1. Chris Taylor played parts of 3 years in Seattle. Never hit a home run. Comes to Los Angeles. He's got 8 home runs already this year. Light switch has gone on for him at age 26. University of Virginia product. Another big cut, and it's 2-2.
Everybody's got the uppercut swing here. They're all buying into the I want to get up and hit a fly ball every at bat. It's going to increase the strikeouts, which we're seeing in today's game. And we're seeing a lot of home runs.
And Taylor goes down swinging on the fastball away. That's 4 strikeouts in relief for Rafael Montero. 1 out of the bottom of the 5th. You could win a trip to Universal Orlando Resort's 3 amazing theme parks, including the all-new Universal Volcano Bay Water Theme Park. Plus, stay on site at Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter the Toyota Fan Flyaway Sweepstakes today. Now Jock Peterson, who struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Zach Wheeler lasted just 2 innings tonight, gave up 7 runs and 8 hits, but Rafael Montero has calmed things down. So now just 1 hit over 2 1/3 with 4 strikeouts. And Peterson takes a changeup off the plate for ball 1. Peterson just got back last Tuesday from a stint on the concussion disabled list. Hurt himself on a play in the outfield. Still trying to get himself untrapped. But he has got tremendous power when he makes contact. 27 home runs 2 years ago, 25 last year.
Another big guy.
Another big cut. It's 1-2. And the changeup continues to work for Montero, especially against these left-hand hitters. As Monty Grandal waits on deck. One-two coming. Just missed away. 2-2. It's playing a 4-game series here in LA. They played a 4-game series last year and split the 4. The difference that series is they didn't touch Kershaw, who pushed a 3-hit shutout and struck out 13 against them. And slider misses down. Full count to Peterson. R.A. Dickey pitched well again tonight.
You did not.
7 scoreless innings against the Giants. 9-0 Atlanta win.
Boy, the Giants are in the tank. Boy.
Let's see them this weekend. That's 7 straight losses for them. Rolled over and toward the hole, a base hit. Now Flores playing first base, broke toward the bag. Could he have had a play on this ball?
He could, but you know, Wilmer's not a first baseman.
Catcher, Yasmani Grandal.
You got to know where your second baseman's playing, and Cicchini was way up the middle. You know, when you go to your left as a first baseman, you're right, excuse me. You got to realize that the pitcher's got to cover. There's no excuse. The pitcher's got to cover the bag for you. So be aggressive to your right as a first baseman.
I mean, we saw with Bellinger earlier in the game, even though he didn't get to the ball, very aggressive going to his right because he had trust in his pitcher being able to get over there.
I don't think Wilmer could have got to the ball. That's why he broke to the bag. There's not a whole lot of range. You know, Wilmer's out of position there.
As Monty Grandal is lined to left and struck out tonight 0 for 2. It's just the second hit against Montero. And this is outside with the fastball 2-0. And now Raphael's trying to get behind a few hitters in his third inning of work.
It's always when you claw back into a game, the pitcher has just got to hold the opponent for a big inning and you're done. You claw back and then it just knocks the air out of the balloon.
And now 3-0 to Grandal. The number 8 hitter Hernandez is on deck. In his 3 perfect innings against the Nationals on Thursday, Montero threw 47 pitches. He's about to throw his 47th pitch in this outing. And Grandal swinging 3-0 and fouls it back. Oh. We saw Turner swing 3-0 earlier tonight, hit a 2-run homer. So Dave Roberts giving his guys the green light. Josh Edgin will get to work in the Mets bullpen.
You know what, with the game so reliant on home runs today.
There goes the runner. Grinder back to Montero. Knocks it down. It's only played first. If he had fielded that cleanly, he might have had a shot at Peterson, who was on the move, but perhaps not as well. But he gets Grandal for the second out. Now let's see if they pitch to Hernandez. You got Kershaw on deck. And first base open.
I would think not. I would think not. I don't think he had a play at second here.
So what are you going to do if you're Terry Collins? You're going to walk Hernandez? Right now meeting at the mound. Flores and Garneau talking to Montero.
Well, the problem is you've got a young Montero. Is he savvy enough to pitch carefully to Hernandez?
I mean, Hernandez is not a huge bat. He's 0 for 2 tonight.
And they're going to pitch to him. I have no problem with this at all. They get behind the count 2-0. Gary, they'll give him a pass.
Peterson at second and 2 out. And a first pitch breaking ball hit in the air to pretty deep left, but playable for Cespedes. He makes the catch. Side retired. So Hernandez flies out. Montero with 3 scoreless innings, and the Mets go to work against Kershaw again in the 6th. 7-0 lead, but the Mets have fought their way back with 3 home runs in the last 3 innings against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw back to the mound for the 6th. Rivera, Cespedes, and Bruce due up. By the way, in case you're wondering, Clayton Kershaw has never given up 4 home runs in a major league game. TJs have been up twice and struck out both times. And he fouls one away, 0-1.
I'm just thinking in between innings, Gary, that with the game so much on the home run today, hitters now changing their whole approach to hit fly balls. There's going to be more. I think managers are going to get more 3-0 accounts. They get the hit sign.
I think we've seen that happen over the last couple of years.
We've seen it tonight.
Kershaw has struck out 7. He's walked only 1. He's given up only 4 hits, but 3 of them have been home runs. 0-2 to Rivera, and TJ, after a 4-hit night last night, has a 3 strikeout night tonight. That's 8 for Kershaw. Here's your Jeep pitch cast, the 3 home runs against Kershaw.
First pitch fastball, Reyes right down the pipe, down. This was impressive. 0-2 count. Bruce staying in, and then the hanging curveball. Cicchini jumps all over up.
90 pitches now for Kershaw. Nobody up in the Dodger bullpen. Here is Cespedes. Cespedes was up twice and grounded out both times. 3 infielders on the left side against Yoenis. And bounce foul, and Kershaw ahead 0-2.
It's a big inning for Kershaw getting through the meat of the order here. And the power. Cespedes, Bruce, and Flores.
5 pitches, 5 strikes to start the inning for Kershaw. Head 0-2 on Cespedes. And that's strike 3 call. Yoenis didn't think so. Withering glance to Todd Tichenor. 6 pitches, 2 strikeouts for Kershaw to start the 6th.
Well, if anything, he thought it might have been low. I thought it was a good pitch. We'll take another peek. Borderline knees. He's got a gripe, but it's close to too close to take.
Very well framed by Grandal.
Yeah, very well framed is right.
And that's that pitch. We talked so much about this. The umpires on the inside corner. That outside corner at the knees is a rumor. Breaking ball down to Bruce. First one out of the strike zone for Kershaw in this inning.
Interesting to see Kershaw's reaction after that missed curveball. Reaction of frustration.
He gets very animated with himself when he doesn't execute a pitch.
Good slider.
Bruce had an 0-2 count in the 4th inning when he hit a fastball over the center field fence. One where Kershaw dropped down from the side. The new wrinkle for Clayton this year. And the curveball has Bruce swinging and missing. It's 1-2.
There's the old 11 o'clock to 5 curve up in the strike zone, but took something off, got Jay out in front.
1-2 coming, and that's too high. Two. And that misses. Kershaw has struck out at least 10 in each of his last 3 regular season starts against the Mets. Only 1 pitcher has ever done it 4 straight times against the Mets. That was Jim Maloney for the Reds back in '63 and '64.
Pretty good pitcher right there.
3-2. And Bruce bounces one foul.
Jim Maloney pitched for those Cincinnati Red teams in the 60s, early 60s, in mid, and it was kind of in the shadows. He was a terrific pitcher and a strikeout guy.
65, he had that 10-inning no-hitter against the Mets that Johnny Lewis broke up with an 11th inning home run. 3-2 coming to Bruce, and the curveball, strike 3 call. And Kershaw strikes out the side of the 6th, and Bruce goes back to beef at Todd Tichenor again, as he did when he got called out on strikes in the 2nd. So Kershaw joins Jim Maloney. 4 straight 10 strikeout performances against the Mets. And after the Mets got closer in the 5th, Kershaw put the hammer down in the 6th, striking out the side. 7-4 Dodgers as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Clayton Kershaw leading off the bottom of the 6th for the Dodgers. You know, in this day and age, most pitchers who are at 100 pitches through 6 leave for a pinch hitter at this point. Not Kershaw. He takes the turn to bat against Rafael Montero with every intention of pitching the 7th and perhaps beyond. Kershaw's 1 for 2 today at a pop fly single that fell in along the left field line in the 2nd and scored a run. Crickets in the Dodger bullpen, and Kershaw takes a strike 2-1. Been another fine outing for Rafael Montero through 3 perfect innings against the Nats last Thursday. He's thrown 3 scoreless innings in long relief so far tonight, and out there for a 4th. And Kershaw drops down a bunt. Montero on it and throws him out. Not only taking the turn at bat in the 6th inning, but deciding that he needed to sprint. 1 out.
Second baseman number 26,
cat, isn't he?
Chase Utley.
Now back to the top of the batting order and Chase Utley. Utley led off this game with a double against Zach Wheeler. Wheeler went 2 innings today, 7 runs, 8 hits, after going an inning and 2/3 against the Cubs. Note from Elias, the first Mets starter to have back-to-back starts of 2 innings or less since 1982. The last Met who had 2 starts with 2 innings or less in a row, Randy Jones. He was at the tail end of his career after his wonderful Cy Young years with the San Diego Padres. There's a strike at the knees to Utley, 1-1. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board with Zach Wheeler and figure out what's going on with him. Josh Edgin up in the Mets bullpen. You got the left-hand hitting Seager on deck. Now the left-hand hitter, 2 batters behind him in Bellinger. Bellinger's already hit 2 home runs tonight. And the backdoor slider misses, 2-1 to Utley. And Utley takes a strike, and it's 2-2.
Interesting, taking all the way.
Utley began the night 4 runs batted in shy of 1,000 for his career. 6-time All-Star, now 38 years old. 2-2 from Montero, and the slider misses, full count. Montero has walked 1. He struck out 4 in 3 1/3 innings of relief. Seager on deck. 3-2 to Utley, and he walked him. This with a 3-2 changeup, and there's the second walk issued by Montero, and we'll see if he gets to go any farther.
They're your team. Take them with you. Watch every SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. And Montero apparently will get Corey Seager.
Terry did not budge. I do not think he'll get Bellinger.
Yeah, I think he needs to leave him in for Seager so that he can face Turner.
If it gets that far.
Yeah. Well, love to get a double play and preclude that, but Seager takes a strike. Seager's 2 for 3, single to right, single to center. Bellinger in the hole, already 2 home runs tonight. Mets 4 runs, 4 hits. The Dodgers 7 runs and 10 hits. Each team has hit 3 home runs tonight. Here's a strike. 0-2 to Seager. Mets have now hit 103 home runs, which is good, but they've given up 98 home runs, which is bad. Here's the road ahead, brought to you by Buick. 3 more games in this series the next 3 nights, and then it's up the coast to San Francisco for the weekend. Then after a day off, Keith leaves. Ronnie enters the fray as we go to Miami. Just your routine LA, San Francisco, Miami road trip. It's not exactly sense making geographically. 0-2 coming. Seager lofts one foul.
Well, I get a day off. You get a day off in San Francisco. I'm going to spend it with my brother and his family. And Ted Robinson, Saturday night, we're going to have dinner with Ted Robinson and his wife.
That's
Mary.
fantastic.
Yep. Ted lives right near my brother.
Former Mets broadcaster, among his many accomplishments. Turner on deck. Montero trying to take care of Seager. And it takes too long. Checking on Utley.
Strike 3 called. Now I'm looking at the fastball, and now it's Seager who's unhappy with Todd Tichenor.
Well,
2 out.
Low ball umpire. He's been calling it the whole game. You have no gripe. He has been consistent with the low strike.
So now 2 out in the inning, and here is Justin Turner, who the Mets have not gotten out tonight. Singled in the first run of the game in the first inning, hit a 2-run homer on a 3-0 pitch from Wheeler in the second inning, and then drew a walk against Montero in the fourth. Utley at first and 2 out. Montero trying to make it through a 4th scoreless inning of relief. And Turner cracks the first one to left center. Back in the gap goes Cespedes. It's over his head and short hops the wall. Utley racing for third. The relay throw to the plate by Reyes on a hop. It is not in time. Utley scores from first on a single off the bat of Justin Turner. And the Dodgers add a run. It's now 8-4 LA. 4th RBI of the night for Turner. And some great base running by Chase Utley.
Well, 2 outs, you're going to break off the bat. I don't know what the heck. Turner has got a single on a ball off the wall. Jumps on a first ball fastball. Up in the strike zone. Did he think he had a home run? because there's no excuse for him not to be on second base. Short hops the wall. Good relay in. Reyes with the strong arm. But Utley can still motor. Gets in there quick.
38 years old, and he still goes first to home on a single off the wall and clearly beats the play. So Terry Collins tried to squeeze one more batter out of Montero, and Turner has a huge night. 3 for 3, 4 RBIs as he gets Utley home and reestablishes a 4-run lead for the Dodgers, and that'll be all for Montero, who turned in 3 2/3 excellent innings of long relief. Josh Edgen will come in to face Cody Bellinger. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Josh Edgen in to face Cody Bellinger. First pitch swinging, lines one right at Cicchini for the third out. So Edgen throws one pitch, gets a line drive out, but the Dodgers had a run on Turner's 4th RBI of the night to expand their lead. And we head to the 7th at Dodger Stadium. Cicchini in the right spot. That's down 8-4 as we go to the 7th. Clayton Kershaw still out there. He has struck out his last 4 hitters, 10 for the night. Wilmer Flores leads off and takes ball 1. Wilmer has grounded out and popped up. Wilmer all of a sudden has cooled down, not just against righties, but against lefties as well. He's 0 for his last 14 against left-handers. Never thought we'd see that again. 1-1 to Flores.
When you play every day, it's hard to keep it going, Gary. It's a lot of peaks and valleys.
The funny thing is, before last year, when Flores became known for his prowess against lefties, he had had a streak where he had gone 0 for 37 against lefties in 2014 and 2015, the longest such streak in Mets history. Grant Dayton, first man up in the Dodger bullpen, the left-hander. 1-2 to Wilmer, and he takes one of the dirt. 2-2. Kershaw has thrown as many as 118 pitches in a game this year. Threw 101 in his last start in 7 innings against the Indians. Indians won again tonight, their 6th in a row. They just swept a 4-game series from the Twins to take over the lead in the AL Central. Ball away. 3-2. Kershaw's walked only 1 tonight, struck out 10. Dave Roberts keeping a close eye on his ace. And Wilmer bounces one to Seager at short. It comes up for him. 1 out. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked after Jackie Robinson, who was the 2nd African-American player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it was Roy Campanella, who was inducted in 1969, 12 years after his career came to a tragic end in a car accident that cost him the use of his legs. And that was from 1960, right before they knocked down Ebbets Field. They wheeled Campy out there into the middle of that desolate diamond with his uniform and his bat to take one last look. 3-time MVP. His career only lasted 10 years. Of course, he got off to a late start because he was relegated to the Negro Leagues until Jackie Robinson broke the color line. Campy made his debut the next year in 1948. Good curveball by Kershaw to get ahead on Darno. 0-2. So Campanella was the backbone of those great Dodger teams through the 50s.
Yes, he was.
His best year was 1953. 41 home runs, 142 RBIs, 312 batting average. And for you people who like OPS, his OPS that year was 1,006. Now that's a year. Oh, and he caught every day too. Line the other way. It's a base hit for Darno. I think the throw to first base. Darno gets there safely as Bellinger can't come up with it cleanly. The ball gets loose behind the plate, but Darno had already stopped running. Kike Hernandez looking for the 9-3 putout, charging it hard, and came pretty darn close to getting it.
He had a good idea here and a good try. They might have had him with a good throw.
I think if Bellinger comes up with that ball, I think Travis might have been out.
Which would have been something he would have had a hard time living down. The ball was scorched to right field. He would have a good throw, Gary, where he can stretch towards right field. They had him.
So a potential embarrassing moment for Travis d'Arnaud goes by the boards, and he instead has his first hit of the night, and the Mets 5th against Kershaw. And here's Reyes. He fouls off the first pitch slider. Reyes opened the scoring for the Mets with a line drive home run into the left field bullpen in the 3rd inning. One of 3 home runs the Mets have hit against Kershaw tonight. Bruce hit a solo shot in the 4th, and then Gavin Cecchini, a 2-run homer, his first in the major leagues, in the 5th. Kershaw nearing the end of the line at 111 pitches. And the curveball hit in the air to deep left field. Back goes Taylor to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here! Jose Reyes with his 2nd home run of the night. A 2-run shot for Reyes. And the Mets have now pulled within 2. It's 8-6 LA. The first time in Clayton Kershaw's career that he's given up 4 home runs in one game.
And the first time he's given up 2-to-1 player since Jay Bruce hit 2 against him 4 years ago. As Reyes goes deep twice, his 6th of the year, and the Mets have pulled to within 2.
Well, one too many curveballs.
And that's going to be all for the Dodger ace. He leaves with the lead, but downcast nonetheless. First time in Kershaw's career he's been touched for 4 home runs in a game. Reyes ending his night by hitting another curveball out of the ballpark. Cicchini and now Reyes getting on the curve for 2-1 homers to pull the Mets closer. 8-6 in the 7th. Kershaw done. We'll be right back to LA. Brant Dayton on in relief of Clayton Kershaw bounces the first curveball to Gavin Cicchini. This game has taken an unexpected turn. Again, the Mets trailed 7-0 after 2. 4 home runs against Clayton Kershaw is now out after 6 in the 3rd, and Dayton, who made his big league debut last year, in. Cicchini, who had a home run his last time up, his first in the major leagues, fouls one off 1-1.
Curtis Granderson in the on-deck circle. And one of those starts, if you can come walk away with a W, you know you earn them.
He has been incredulous at times tonight about the balls that have left the ballpark. Cicchini fouls one off the right side. Bellinger over to the railing, but he runs out of room. 1-2. Well, they might want to provide encouragement, but Kershaw very unhappy with himself. And we've seen this repeatedly tonight. He did strike out 10, walked only 1, gave up 6 hits, but 4 of the 6 were home runs. And now the Mets with a chance against the Dodger bullpen, which has been very good. It's been the best bullpen in the National League this year, anchored by Kenley Jansen, who's just had an unbelievable year as the closer. Cicchini stops the swing, and it's up high, 2-2. Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Zach Wheeler's night ended early for the 2nd straight time. Mets fighting back against Kershaw. 7 home runs in this game, 3 for the Dodgers, 4 for the Mets. And an 8-6 LA lead in the top of the 7th. 2-2 to Cicchini with Granderson on deck to pinch hit. And Gavin grounds one down to third. Turner on the short hop, snags it, and the running third gets it. Nice play by Turner for the second out.
Beautiful play. Rushes in for the short hop.
Well done.
So 2 out and nobody on. The Mets have a very heavily left-handed bench tonight. They've already used Matt Reynolds as a pinch hitter. That leaves only Rene Rivera from the right side. They've got Granderson and Duda and Nimmo as left-hand pinch hitters. So with a lefty reliever in the game, kind of forces Terry's hand to use Granderson in this spot. So Fernando Salas up in the Mets bullpen. There's now the odd man out of the Mets outfield, and Terry was asked tonight about what his conversation was like with Granderson, telling him that he was going to be the extra man. He said it was great because of who Granderson is and how he handled it. He said, I didn't like having to tell him, but that Curtis handled it as well as anybody ever could. Ball and a strike to Granderson. The irony, of course, is that Granderson is sitting down at a time when he's probably swinging the bat better than he has all year. 1 for 4 yesterday with an RBI hit, as Cespedes sat out. And Dayton leans him back, 2-1. Granderson can keep the inning going. Michael Conforto would be next. Those are the recent numbers for Curtis. Hitting .311 over his last 25 games after a very slow start to the year. And Curtis lays off, and now Dayton behind him 3-1. Kershaw still mulling over his outing, the likes of which he's never suffered through before. 3-1 coming, and Granderson fouls it back. 3-2. Dayton was in 25 games for the Dodgers last year, still technically a rookie. Now in his 22nd game this year, he spent some time in the minor leagues. Dodgers made a move with their bullpen today. They activated the veteran Sergio Romo, who had been out with an ankle injury, and sent Josh Fields, who got off to a great start this year but struggled lately, down to the minors. Granderson takes it high, and the Mets will get the tying run to the plate. A 2-out walk to Granderson. Conforto coming up. First, let's check in with Doug Williams in the studio for a game break brought to you by the New York State Department of Health.
Fielder number 30, Michael Conforto.
All right, Doug, 7 scoreless for Dickey tonight as he pitches well over the last couple of times out. So here's Conforto tying run at the plate in an 8-6 game. Michael's 0 for 3 tonight.
Well, Matt Adams is making a little tough decision. You got Freddie Freeman, who's going to be out, and he's hitting 10 home runs since coming over from the Cardinals.
Well, with Matt Kemp hurt, let's stick him out in left field.
Yeah, just find a spot for him.
Sure, why not? Conforto lifts one to left center field. Peterson and Taylor takes charge of it, and that retires the side. Conforto didn't miss that one by much. Let's get closer though on Reyes' second home run of the night. 7th inning stretch, 8-6 LA. There's no better time to buy a new Hyundai than now. See your local Hyundai dealer or visit buyhyundai.com. By Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. And by Cash for Life from the New York Lottery, you could win $1,000 a day for life. Always bustling at that Santa Monica Pier, isn't it?
Yes, it's a lovely area down there.
Fernando Salas on the pitch in the bottom of the 7th for New York.
The numbers aren't pretty, are they not?
Chris Taylor leads off and takes the fastball high. Salas last pitched against the Nats on Friday night. Gave up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Taylor has singled and struck out twice tonight, 1 for 3. Jock Peterson on deck. And that's carved foul off the right side. Will go out of play. 1-1. Well, Rafael Montero settled this game down for the Mets. 3 2/3 innings of long relief. He allowed a run on 3 hits. Struck out 5. Josh Edgen threw 1 pitch, got a line drive out, and now Salas. Seven home runs tonight, 3 off Dodger bats and 4 for the Mets. And Taylor launches one to deep left field. Cespedes takes a look, but that's gone. Salas is greeted by a home run. Taylor's 9th of the year. And now the Dodgers have a 3-run lead at 9-6. We mentioned it earlier. Chris Taylor never hit a home run in 3 years with the Mariners. He now has 9 this year with the Dodgers.
Welcome to 2017.
Great launch angle.
Fastball right down the old Piperoni. Right down the middle.
So Salas, who has seen his season go sideways, is greeted rudely. And now Jock Peterson, who's 1 for 3 tonight. So each team has now hit 4 home runs tonight.
Really? I mean, what are you going to do about all this home runs?
Pitch better?
Jeez. Not the Mets. I'm talking about baseball.
The game. Yeah.
The game itself.
Well,
is this what you really want?
We are back to where we were in the late 90s and the early 2000s, in the midst of the steroid era, where everybody could hit a home run.
And they're not just, these home runs are way back.
Chris Hatcher up in the bullpen for the Dodgers. Normally their 8th inning guy is Pedro Baez, but he pitched yesterday and did not pitch well. So it looks like Hatcher's going to get the 8th. Peterson fouls one back, and it's 1-2. Well, since the middle of 2015, the home run ball has exploded in baseball, and clearly it may be for a lot of reasons, but not the least of which is that the nature of the way hitters are approaching their at-bats has completely changed to where now everybody's just trying to hit home runs every time up.
It's last year's MVP, Chris Bryant with the Cubs. Everybody wants it to hit the ball in the air. Every at-bat, he feels he fails if he hits the ball on the ground. Justin Turner has followed and is having a great year. Jay Bruce feels the same way.
They all feel that way now. The entire nature of the way hitting is being taught and approached by major league hitters has undergone a radical shift over the last couple of years. And that's yanked foul.
I'm just concerned and wondering if, okay, we're going to make this new approach. We're going to prove it right. I mean, baseball has never told or admitted to how tightly they wind the ball. But you know what? I don't know, but it's just my speculation, my observation, and I think I have a pretty keen eye. I did play this game for 17 years. I have never seen the ball flying out of ballparks like I've seen this year.
Well, here's a case in point. Clayton Kershaw, best pitcher in the game. He's now given up 17 home runs this year. It's the most he's given up in any season in his career. Think about that. as Peterson strikes out on a violent cut. Well, right? I mean, this is the best pitcher on the planet. He came into the day leading the National League in ERA again, and he's given up more home runs in a season than he has in any season in his career. It's the middle of June. So what does that tell you?
He's on a pace pretty darn close to giving up 40, which is astounding.
He's never given up more than 16 before. I mean, that is crazy, right? And if that happens to the best of them, then what about everybody else?
All the mediocrity?
Well, there you see how the home run rate has gone up over the last couple of years. Again, it began radically in the middle of the 2015 season. If you look at the first half and second half numbers that year, the home run rate went up astoundingly, and it has continued its rise since.
Well, you've had all the new ballparks too, and you know, we walk down the field and we're around these guys, athletes. They're all much bigger and stronger, and the new ballparks were made much smaller. So, you know, they just don't slap these ballparks together. There is a plan.
Well, this ballpark's been here a long time, and it used to be you couldn't hit home runs here at night. Right, because they said the ball did not carry well enough in the night air at Dodger Stadium for anybody to hit home runs regularly. Well, we've seen 8 home runs tonight. 1-2 to Grandal. It's off the play with the changeup. 2-2.
Well,
that's hit hard into right, a base hit for Grandal. So the second hit of the inning against Salas, and the Dodgers have a 1-out base runner. That's their 13th hit of the night.
High fastball. Salas continues to pitch too much upstairs, and just doesn't have the fastball that he used to have to get away with that on a consistent basis.
So now Kike Hernandez is 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded out twice and flied out, and he takes the pitch low for ball 1. Franklin Gutierrez has come out on deck to pinch hit, with the pitcher spot due up next. Dodgers have been all right-hand hitting bench tonight. Foul back 1-1. Yasiel Puig, Logan Forsythe, and the backup catcher Austin Barnes, the other options for Dave Roberts. He's carrying a 13-man pitching staff and only 4 bench players, which more and more is the norm. The Mets are outside the norm tonight in that they have 5 bench players. Rondala very short lead at first, and Hernandez goes after the high fastball, 1-2. Salas, the 4th Met pitcher of the night. One-two coming. Got him with a breaking ball. So Salas picks up his 2nd strikeout of the inning as he fans Hernandez 2 away. Tomorrow night, game 2 of this series. Robert Gsellman back home in Southern California will get the start for the Mets. Brandon McCarthy goes for the Dodgers. Our coverage begins at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, right here on SNY. Gsellman, born in Santa Monica, went to Westminster High School here in LA.
Looking to rebound off of a subpar start. Got hit around pretty good his last outing.
Not really helped by his infield defense either. Here's Franklin Gutierrez, and he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Gutierrez, the veteran American leaguer with Seattle and Cleveland, now 34 years old, first chance to play in the National League. He's late on that high fastball, and it's 0-2. Every inning Salas pitches, he seems to throw 20 or more pitches.
Yes, he does.
Chase Utley on deck. Gave up the leadoff home run to Taylor here in the 7th to stretch the Dodger lead to 3 runs. D'Arnaud down in the dirt to stop that breaking ball from getting away. 1-2. Got it off the bare hand.
Yes, he did, off the fatty part of the thumb there, the thumb side of the hand. I should say the meaty side, not the fatty side.
Well, the less vulnerable part is what you were trying to say.
Yes.
Not on the bone. Because that hurts more.
Yes, it does.
So you want to be a catcher.
Took us way to the big leagues when I was growing up as a kid. That and a shortstop.
I always thought it was a left-hand pitcher. These days, with 13 pitching jobs on every team,
it still helps to be a left-hander coming out of it, you know.
2-2 coming, and Gutierrez lines one into left center for a base hit. Grandal around second, he'll go to third, and the Dodgers have runners at the corners with 2 down. So Gutierrez comes through as a pinch hitter. And the Dodgers poised to tack on here in the 7th.
Fastball meant to be away. Too much plate. And up again.
So another slog of an inning for Fernando Salas. Now he has to face Chase Utley with first and third and 2 out. Utley has doubled and walked tonight and scored 2 runs. He raced home from first base on a single by Justin Turner in the 6th inning. They score a run against Rafael Montero. And Utley takes a strike from Salas. Yo Ramirez, next man up in the Mets bullpen. Mets may not have Addison Reed available tonight. He worked each of the last 2 days, which might be why we're not seeing Jerry Blevins at this point. I need to save Blevins. Grandal at third, Gutierrez at first, and that's fouled off. And Salas gets ahead of the count on Utley. 2 other games still working in Major League Baseball, both in the American League. The Astros are up 3-1 in Oakland in the 8th. Astros going for their 47th win. They have an 11-game lead in that AL West. And Seattle leads Detroit 4-2 in the 7th up at Safeco Field. How about the A's, that series against the Yankees? They trailed every game.
Came back and beat them.
Swept a 4-game series.
4 games.
0-2 to Utley. Hit up the middle, a base hit, and that'll bring in a run. Grandal trots in to score. Utley behind in the count 0-2, delivers the RBI single. 10-6 LA.
Oh, and 2, and a fastball down the pipe.
So Salas gives a back-to-back 2-out, 2-strike hits to Gutierrez and Utley, and the Dodgers have scored twice here in the 7th.
And that just puts a big damper on things. The Dodgers now have gone back to a 4-run lead.
And negates Reyes' 2-run homer in the top of the inning that got the Mets within 2. And now Corey Seager, who's 2 for 4 tonight. Dodgers now with 10 runs and 15 hits. They scored 7 runs in the first 2 innings to end Zach Wheeler's night prematurely. And after the Mets got closer, they've added a run in the 6th and now 2 in the 7th. Gutierrez at second and Utley at first with 2 out. And Seager fouls off the fastball, 0-2. So third straight hitter now that Salas has gotten ahead 0-2.
Yeah.
But not able to put anybody away. And about to throw his 30th pitch of the inning.
And this is not, Salas is not an inexperienced young pitcher. He is a seasoned veteran.
Oh, 2 to Seager. And he just got a piece of that changeup. Justin Turner has had a huge night. Would be next. Turner's driven in 4 runs. Bellinger has driven in 4 runs for the Dodgers tonight. And Seager lays off 1-2. Not sure I've seen a pitcher with a smaller spread between his fastball and his changeup than Salas. Throws his fastball about 90 versus changeup about 87. One-two coming. And he sails that one upstairs. 2-2. You know who has a small differential on their fastball and changeup is Zach Greinke. But his changeup has such great movement.
And he's got a good slider too.
Now it's 2-2 to Seager with 2 out and 2 on. And he misses low. And a full count. So again, he got ahead 0-2. Now he's running full, and that means the runners will be in motion with Turner ready to hit next. Gutierrez at second, Utley at first. They'll be moving. Three-2 to Seager. Struck him out with a changeup. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Salas, but the Dodgers cash a couple. After 7, LA 10, Mets 6.
Affordable ride to and from home base with Uber, the preferred ride of the Dodgers. You receive 50.
Looking to help local football leagues in need with grants, equipment donations, clinics, and special Jets experiences. Does your league need assistance? Apply today at sny.tv/playball. Here's your Mets box score brought to you by Ram. 4 home runs for the Mets tonight, 2 for Jose Reyes, 1 for Jay Bruce, and the first of Gavin Cecchini's career. All of that against Clayton Kershaw, but not enough so far. Mets down 10-6 as we go to the 8th, and Chris Hatcher is on in relief.
Well, you see his numbers there. He has given up in those 33 1/3. 7 home runs, 3 to left-handers, 4 to the right-handers.
Hatcher began his career with the Marlins, now in his 3rd year with the Dodgers. T.J. Rivera will lead off. Cespedes and Bruce to follow as the Mets try and fight back again. They were down 7-0, got as close as 8-6 before the Dodgers added 2 against Salas in the 7th. T.J., who had a 4-hit game yesterday, in danger of a 4-strikeout game tonight. Struck out his first 3 times up against Kershaw. Cespedes on deck. Kershaw left after 6 1/3 after Reyes' 2nd home run of the night. Brad Dayton got the final 2 outs in the 7th. And now Hatcher working the 8th.
Was Hatcher a converted catcher or
Yes.
something? Yes, that's what I remember that.
Hatcher the catcher.
Right. Well, just a great arm, and they couldn't, I guess, make it as a hitter and throw him out on the mound.
Like Jason Mott.
Right, exactly.
Hatcher played his college ball at UNC Wilmington. Beautiful down by the beach there in Wilmington, where Michael Jordan grew up. 2-2 now to Rivera.
Looks like a lot of people, some of them people have left this game.
It's Dodger Stadium.
Who was that? 43,000 tonight?
It's Dodger Stadium, Jake.
I know.
And Rivera strikes out for the 4th time tonight.
What was interesting about Dodger Stadium, Gary, when I was playing, is that the crowd would come late because of the traffic. It'd be half full, and as the game progressed, by the 4th, 5th inning, it was you looked up and it was a full house.
Foul tip held by Grandal. So a night after a 4-hit game, T.J. Rivera saddled with a 4-strikeout game. If you get a golden sombrero for striking out 4 times, what do you get for getting 4 hits?
You get a much better night's sleep.
Maybe you get the crown rather than the sombrero. Here's Cespedes, who's 0 for 3 tonight, grounded out twice and struck out, looking his last time up against Kershaw. Kershaw struck out 10 and walked only 1, but the long balls were the story of his night. Although he is pitcher of record on the long side, he certainly was not happy with his performance.
6 1/3, Garrett. 6 hits, 6 earned runs, 10 punches, 4 bombs.
That skips quickly into the crowd. 1-1. Wrap around the majors presented by Audi. The Indians win their 6th in a row. Corey Kluber went the distance on a 3-hitter and struck out 11. As the Orioles continue to struggle. R.A. Dickey's 7 strong innings, and Garrett Cole is getting back on the beam for the Pirates.
It's been a tough patch for Cole. He hasn't pitched well.
But the Pirates just 5 games out of first place in that all-comers NL Central. 1-2 to Cespedes. Jay Bruce has already homered tonight, waits on deck. One-two to Yoenis, and he hits this one to shallow center. That may fall in, and it does for a base hit. A dunker off the bat of Cespedes for his first hit of the night, and the Mets' 7th hit of the game.
Fielder number 19.
Good breaking ball here. Reaches out with one hand. And dorks it in there. He'll take it any way he can get it.
A one-handed dork better than a 2-handed lineout.
Correct. And you know something? In the paper tomorrow, it's a line drive. That's all it is.
On line, too.
Yes.
Here's Jay Bruce, who has homered in 3 at-bats tonight. And he takes the fastball inside from Hatcher. Catcher asking Todd Tichenor where that ball was. Everybody's been talking to Tichenor tonight. Bruce has argued both of his third strike calls with the home plate umpire. You see that often from Jay. Snap throw by Grandal, and Cespedes gets back. Bruce is 0 for 2 in his career against Chris Hatcher. Takes that slider just off the plate, 2-1.
All of a sudden, Tichenor get a little Archie Bell on the draws, doing the tighten up.
Three infielders on the right side against Bruce, with Turner flipped over on the right side, playing in the middle. And that's in the dirt. Skips away from Grandal, and down to second goes Cespedes. Wild pitch moves Cespedes into scoring position with 1 out. And it's 3-1 now on Bruce.
Well, all Dave Roberts wants from his pitchers this inning is a lead to get it to Jansen.
And now they will reconfigure their infield with the 3-1 count to move Turner back to the left side with a runner at second, and move Seager over to the right of second base. Wilmer Flores waiting on deck. 3-1 to Bruce. And that's ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. So a bloop single, a wild pitch, and a walk, and the Mets need 1 more base runner to get the tying run to the plate. The way this game has gone, who knows? It's a game the Mets trailed 7-0 after 2, and with Clayton Kershaw on the mound, you figured that's it, game's over.
Correct.
But it has not proven out even close to that.
And that's why they play the games, Gare.
All 9 innings, every night. Wilmer's 0 for 3 tonight, facing a right-hander for the first time, and the slider off the plate from Hatcher for ball 1. Well, with Hatcher's propensity for giving up home runs, let's hope to get back into that tying run at the plate situation and give themselves a chance to get right back into this game.
They got no one up in that Dodger bullpen, so it's on Hatcher to protect this 4-run lead, and you should be able to protect a 4-run lead. Remember, he's given up 7 home runs this season in 31 1/3.
Mets have hit 4 home runs tonight. They all came against Kershaw. And Wilmer swings over the slider, and it's 1-1. Wilmer's gone into a bit of a funk. 3 hits in his last 30 at bats after a 6-week hot streak. Travis d'Arnaud waiting on deck.
Wilmer cracks one to deep left field. That goes Taylor onto the warning track to make the catch. Flores making a bid
and coming up just a bit shy for the second out.
Wanted the fastball up.
Enter number 18, Travis d'Arnaud.
And every time the ball's hit in the air with any authority, you just kind of hold your breath.
With 8 home runs having already left the yard tonight. That one just a little bit shy. So now 2 out and 2 on. And here is d'Arnaud, who's been on base twice with a walk and a single to right. He's scored 2 runs. Back in his native Southern California, looking to keep this going with Reyes, who's already homered twice tonight, waiting on deck.
And here's the contact. He got it on the fat of the bat, looked like. A little bit towards the end, but not that much.
Too much topspin is all.
Huh.
And now Grandal and Hatcher need a conversation before they go after d'Arnaud. Remember, the Mets have Lucas Duda in the dugout as a potential pinch hitter. They also have Brandon Nimmo from the left side. Lucas already fiddling with his batting gloves. Pitcher spot is still 3 batters away, but he might also bat for Cicchini, who's hitting the 8-hole. Cespedes at second, Bruce at first with 2 out, and d'Arnaud takes low and in, ball 1. 32-year-old Chris Hatcher. Reyes, who has a 3-home-run game in his career, waiting on deck. I think he did that in Philadelphia, right?
I think you're right.
During his first incarnation as a Met. Yeah, 2006 in Philly. 2-0 now to d'Arnaud. Yeah, d'Arnaud finds his way aboard. Reyes would come to the plate as the tying run.
And this inning is all on Hatcher.
Echo Sports Night comes up after the postgame tonight or this morning. NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. We cover the gamut. 2-0 to d'Arnaud. And Travis takes it low. And now Hatcher's behind 3-0. He's already walked a batter in the inning. Do you have Travis take one here?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Hopeful Met fans. Rally caps on. Two on and 2 out. And d'Arnaud takes a strike. 3-1. And now we can go to hit him. Cespedes with a single. Bruce with a walk. d'Arnaud trying to make something of it with 2 out.
Might be a little bit too late in that bullpen.
Outside, ball 4, and Reyes will come to bat as the tying run. Well, Jose has gone deep twice tonight, both against Clayton Kershaw.
First pitch fastball, and then he gets a curve. And Hatcher's got a 4-run lead, a 3-1 count, and he throws a 3-1 slider to d'Arnaud, who can't beat him. I no comprendo. And they got Sergio Romo up now, but there's no way he's going to be ready.
Well, that's Kenley Jansen getting up now.
That's Jansen, excuse me.
They're not going to mess around. They'll get their closer up here in the 8th inning.
It's a little late.
Jansen, who has been unbelievable this year. Mets trying to get to the Dodger bullpen before they can get to Jansen. And now, after wasting some time, they'll waste some more time as Rick Honeycutt comes out. This should not be allowed.
And you want to speed up the game. Do not allow the meeting at the mound, then allow the pitching coach to go out there for another meeting. That's just not right.
To me, if the okay.
You know what I mean?
But it's all part of what they do. So and Jansen's down there. He's not in any great hurry, rushing to get ready.
And now Titchener is coming out to break up the meeting. Well, I mean, he's not going to come in to face Reyes, but he certainly can be ready for the next hitter. And Lucas Duda has come out on deck to pinch hit for Cicchini if Reyes keeps the inning going. There's Duda. So here we go. Mets were down 7-0 in this game, fought back to 8-6. Now it's 10-6, and they've got the tying run at bat. And Reyes, first pitch swinging, fouls off the fastball. Reyes hit his first home run on a first pitch fastball, hit his second on an 0-1 curveball. But he has been attacking with runners in scoring position all year. Not always with great results.
A 4-run lead, and you walk 2 batters and get the tying run to the plate. It's inexcusable.
Reyes has 2 home runs tonight, give him 6 for the year. And he takes a big cut, and now he's down to the count 0-2. Late swing foul into the photo line.
That was just a little fly swat right there just to stay in the at bat.
Hatcher's given up a blue pit and a couple of walks here in the 8th inning to give the Mets a chance. Reyes trying to take advantage.
Well, he shook him off. Another fastball up.
Struck him out with a high fastball. Inning over. Mets load him up in the 8th, but leave him loaded.
Just kept going up the ladder, Gary.
Nothing after 2. They've been fighting uphill all night. Just had the tying run at the plate in the top of the 8th, but down by 4 as the Dodgers come to bat in the bottom of the 8th, and Neil Ramirez will pitch for New York.
Well, Ramirez has had his struggles, much like Salas. Those numbers do not lie. The walks are just way sky high. A lot of base runners he's given up.
Last outing against the Nats, he came in with the bases loaded, issued a bases loaded walk before getting an out. Now he'll face Justin Turner, who's already had a huge night. Turner an RBI single, a 2-run homer, a walk, and another RBI single. So he's 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs. His season average is up to .395, the best in the majors. And Ramirez starts him off with a slider, 0-1. Cody Bellinger on deck, and then Chris Taylor for the Dodgers in the bottom of the 8th. Well, they had Kenley Jansen up while Hatcher was struggling in the 8th. I wonder whether they'll go to Jansen with a 4-1 or better lead in the 9th.
Well, he'll be ready to come in to put out a fire if he has to.
Yeah, I mean, he pitched yesterday in Cincinnati. Kenley Jansen this year has struck out 50 batters and walked none. Nobody in the history of the game has ever done that before. Struck out 50 before walking a batter.
Remarkable. And Turner lays off the slider, 2-1.
Justin missed about 4 weeks with a hamstring injury, started a hitting streak before the injury, and has continued it since coming back. He's got a 14-game hitting streak now. And as we mentioned earlier, doesn't have enough plate appearances to qualify, but would lead the world in hitting if he did. He floats this one out to right. Bruce coming on, sliding, can't make the catch. And Turner has another hit. Bruce got a little bit of a late break on that ball, tried to cure it with the slide, couldn't quite come up with it, and Turner is 4 for 4.
I think he misjudged this ball. Gary kind of hesitated. He had it and it popped out.
So 4 hits for Turner tonight, 16 hits for the Dodgers. And now another chance for Cody Bellinger, who already has 2 home runs tonight. 3-run homer in the first, solo shot in the second, both against Zach Wheeler. Since then, Bellinger has struck out and lined out.
He got a late break on it. He had it, but it popped out.
And it gives Turner a 4-hit game for the 6th time in his career. Bellinger swinging from his heels, 1-1.
They're going to learn not to throw this guy a strike. He's going to swing like that. He's going to swing at a lot of bad pitches.
This is Cody Bellinger's 51st major league game. Tonight he has his 5th multi-home run game. That's the fastest that any player in major league history has ever had 5 multi-home run games. 21 home runs on the season, now leading the National League. He lines that one into left center for a base hit. Turner to second. He'll stop there as Conforto flings it in, and Reyes runs it down. With the Mets in the shift, Reyes had to hustle to get over toward third. So back-to-back hits for Turner and Bellinger to start this bottom of the 8th. 3rd hit of the night for Bellinger.
That was an impressive at bat here. Not trying to pull that breaking ball on the outside corner, went right with it. That's knee-high outside corner. Boy, he takes a big stride.
So now Chris Taylor, who homered his last time up against Fernando Salas in the 7th. 4 home runs the Dodgers have hit tonight. Taylor is 2 for 4. Dodgers now with a season-high 17 hits. Ramirez looking back at Turner, who froze momentarily, but Cicchini did not go to the bag, which gave Turner plenty of time to get back. And Taylor takes a fastball outside, ball 1. So Ramirez, who's made a habit of walking his first batter, tonight has not. Instead, he's given up back-to-back hits to start his outing. John Peterson next. And a check swing, he went around. 1-1. Taylor lays off, 2-1. Slice foul, 2-2. Are those real stirrups that Chris Taylor is wearing?
I'll take a peek.
I think they are.
Yes, they are. So someone had to put the sanitary socks on first, followed by the uniform socks.
That is, but that's an old school look. Three and two now. There's nobody up behind Ramirez. He's got to figure his way out of this himself. Turner at second, Bellinger at first, 3-2 coming to Taylor, and he swings and misses at the slider for strike three. Third time Taylor has struck out tonight, and the first out of this bottom of the eighth.
Center fielder number 31, John Peterson.
Pretty good slider right there. Gets Taylor.
So he'll take his stirrups back to the dugout. And that brings up Jock Peterson, who's 1 for 4 tonight. He has struck out twice.
I'll tell you, for you folks that are laying on the couch and you're kind of dozing off, this music will wake you up.
11 strikeouts for Met pitchers tonight. 2 on and 1 out for Peterson, and a first pitch curveball sits high for ball one. Well, Zach Wheeler tonight lasted just 2 innings. Second straight start, he's gone 2 innings or less. First time a Met starter has had that happen to him in 35 years. And after so much good work by Wheeler, lots of questions now. Fastball call strike, 1-1 to Peterson. It forced Terry Collins to go to his bullpen early. It will also probably impact his rotation the rest of the week. Rafael Montero, who'd been a candidate to start Wednesday night, worked in long relief tonight for 3 2/3. Probably leaves Tyler Pill, who's down in Vegas, to be called up to pitch on Wednesday night.
Well, at least he has a short flight.
Yeah, first time all year. I mean, how often have the Mets had to play a player short because their AAA team's just too far away to get a player there in time? Vegas to LA, it's a flight every hour. You could even drive it if you had to. They figure 4-hour drive to Vegas.
They say that the flights on Friday afternoon and Monday coming back to LA are quite interesting. I won't go into any details.
I was going to ask you what you meant by interesting, but I could cover a lot of topics. I mean, it is well after 1 a.m.
Well, Dennis knows what I'm talking about behind me here.
Dennis D'Agostino, our esteemed statistician. I mean, there are different rules after midnight, right?
That's right.
Maybe that's what you're talking about. Here's the 2-2 to Peterson. It's too high, and the second straight full count for Neil Ramirez. He was able to throw a good 3-2 slider to strike out Taylor. Now he's gone 3-2 to Peterson. There have been few easy innings in this game on either side. Turner at second, Bellinger at first with 1 out. Grandal on deck. Peterson asks for time. Three-two. And the curveball misses, ball 4. And now the bases are loaded. So 2 hits and a walk against Neil Ramirez, and the Dodgers have them full in the bottom of the 8th after the Mets loaded them up in the top of the 8th and left 3 stranded. Yasmani Grandal 1 for 4 tonight, singled and scored a run in the 7th. Mets trailed 7-0, got as close as 8-6, but the Dodgers got 2 in the 7th, and now threatening to break it open in the bottom of the 8th. Bases loaded, 1 out for Grandal. And a fastball strike. Ramirez designated for assignment by 2 different organizations before the Mets got him. And although he has shown flashes, the inconsistency makes you understand why it's been such a difficult stretch for him. One and one now to Grandal. There have been few good answers for Terry Collins when he goes to the bullpen. Jerry Blevins has been his best by far. Addison Reed has been good enough. But the rest of it, no better than a flip of a coin. Turner at third, Bellinger at second, Peterson at first with 1 out. And Grandal takes a slider for a strike, and it's 1-2.
Oh, Ramirez loves his breaking ball.
One of the rare times in this inning he's been ahead in the count. And Grandal goes down swinging at a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. The hardest pitch Ramirez has thrown, and that's the 2nd out of the inning.
And a fastball at that.
Right fielder, number 14,
Looks like he just got angry at that at bat and started throwing fastballs. And Grandal breaks his bat in frustration.
That was not a good swing by Grandal. That was, took it out on his bat too.
So 12 strikeouts for Met pitchers tonight amidst the 10 runs and 17 hits. And here's Kike Hernandez, who's yet to get in on the fun, 0 for 4. And he takes a slider down for ball 1. For the moment, Chris Hatcher is out on deck to bat for himself. If he were to come to bat, it would mean the Dodgers would have to add at least another run, in which case you can understand why Dave Roberts would want him to try to finish the game with at least a 5-run lead. Your Mets Power Pitchers of the Week brought to you by East Coast Power and Gas. Mets and Dodgers both in the top 5 in strikeouts per 9 innings. Difference is the Dodgers have the best staff ERA in the league, and the Mets are 12th. Fly ball hit to shallow right. In comes Bruce. Side retired. So Ramirez able to strand 3 in the bottom of the 8th. Mets will come up in the top of the 9th, down 10-6. What are we snacking on? A little bit of extra caffeine.
Hey, we're up. You got to be up. Let's go.
Brandon Nimmo batting for Gavin Cecchini, leading off in the top of the ninth. Second at bat for Nimmo since being called up. He saw one pitch yesterday and flied out to left. Nimmo, who was hamstrung by a hamstring injury and a hand problem down in AAA this year, was hitting just .223 when he was called up. And he pops this one foul back and out of play 0-2. Everybody's going down. It's infected AAA. How about Nimmo's socks?
You know, I don't mind the look. I just don't like the skyline, the gray skyline.
But he's showing the stripes with the skyline.
Whatever.
Lucas Duda on deck to pinch hit. Up and into Nimmo, who did a nice job last year when he was called up in part-time duty. Hit 73 at bats last year, hit .274. Showed an ability to come off the bench and put together quality at bats. And he lines one over short for his first big league hit this year. Mishandled in center by Peterson, but Nimmo will not take any chances, down by 4 runs.
Well, Nimmo continues to perform off the bench. This is a fastball away, goes right with it. Well done. Whoa.
Now Lucas Duda batting for the pitcher Ramirez. Duda not starting tonight with the lefty on the mound. Had 2 hits yesterday, including a long double. Trying to get himself restarted. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow with the right-hander going. Brandon McCarthy starts for the Dodgers in game 2 of the series. And it's inside, almost hit him. Ball 1. Chris Hatcher threw 26 pitches in that 8th inning. Kenley Jansen, the closer, is up. One more base runner would create a save opportunity for Jansen. It would appear as though Dave Roberts is trying to stay away from Jansen if he possibly can. Hatcher gave up a hit and 2 walks in the 8th, but got out of it. And Duda pops one up into shallow left. In comes Taylor. And that's the first out. So 1 out and 1 on in the top of the ninth. I mean, how often do you see it? In the 8th inning, both teams loaded the bases and didn't score.
Well, is your experiences, is it rare?
In the same inning? For
rare.
Both teams to load the bases and not score? It just seems as though it doesn't happen that often.
Well, how often do you load the bases back to back?
Well, that's my point. Here's Conforto, who's 0 for 4 tonight. We're still on Eastern time, folks.
Oh, we are.
We're trying to adjust.
Actually, I thought I was going to be in trouble tonight, but I've been right with it.
It's been chock full of action.
I haven't dozed.
Not yet.
Trust me, I wanted to a couple innings, but I'm ready to go 17.
Boy, now you said it. Hey, remember that game we did in San Francisco a few years ago?
Yes,
They
I
went
do.
like 15 innings with the Seagulls.
We had that horrific game in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah. The 18-inning game in St. Louis when you broke Twitter. Was a call strike, 0-2 to Conforto.
That was the game the Mets left all those men on base. And we finally had that shot of the person. Was it the gal out there instead of one of the bleachers? She was sleeping. She was laid out.
0-2 to Conforto. And that misses down. 1-2. TJ Rivera already has the golden sombrero. He might have a crack at the platinum sombrero. He is on deck. You don't get too many platinum sombreros. Not that anybody would ever want one.
Well, I tell you what. Hatcher is like watching grass grow.
Conforto trying to get the Mets a little tighter here. 2-2 with Nimmo at first and 1 out. And he bounces one foul. You know the last time a Met struck out 5 times in a 9-inning game? Dave Kingman, 1982.
I believe that.
I mean, that's 35 years ago. That's the same year that Randy Jones had the back-to-back starts of 2 innings or less.
Well, Dave could hit him a long way or strike out. I think a lot of his tenure with the Mets, that's all he wanted to do was hit home run every at bat.
He would have fit right into this era, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would. Yes, he would have. Good call.
That's low, ball 3.
Jeez.
Well, I got a feeling if Conforto gets on, we'll see Kenley Jansen in the game.
Well, Dave Roberts is on the top step.
Jansen hanging around, appearing to be ready to go if needed. 3-2 to Conforto, trying to get on base for the first time tonight. And he takes a call, 3rd strike. 2 men down.
I don't know what he was thinking up there. He's looking for a breaking ball. He's got to stop that. He's too good a hitter.
Well, that's 13 strikeouts for Dodger pitchers tonight. And now the Mets are down to their final out with T.J. Rivera and his 4 strikeouts coming up. The last Met to strike out 5 times in any game was Ryan Thompson. That was in a 17-inning game against the Cardinals in 1993. Nimmo runs. TJ hits one toward the gap in left center, cutting across Taylor, diving, makes the catch, and the ball game is over. Chris Taylor with a nice catch to end it as the Dodgers build a 7-0 lead against Zach Wheeler. Each team hits 4 home runs, and the Dodgers hang on to win the opening game of this series 10-6.
Well, a wild one. The bullpens for both clubs. For the Dodgers in the paper tomorrow, it'll look fine, but they were shaky. The Met bullpen gave up too much.
Mets were down 7-0, got within 8-6. Jose Reyes with a pair of home runs against Kershaw, who gave up 4 home runs in a game for the first time in his career, and yet gets the victory as the Dodgers were able to tack on. Cody Bellinger with a pair of home runs for the Dodgers. A 4-for-4 game for Justin Turner, who drove in 4 runs. And the Dodgers take the opener of the series 10-6 as Kershaw becomes the first 10-game winner in the National League this season. Final score, Dodgers 10, Mets 6. We'll come back with more from LA in just a moment.